are at the business end of the season. For Manchester City, a top 5 place and a spot in next season's Champions League is not a given, such has been the downturn in fortunes for the current Premier League champions, but it is absolutely necessary for a team of this stature. Turbulence has reigned in Manchester, hasn't it? But a miserable start for Palace has quickly transformed into what's looking like a dream season for them. The visitors have only beaten City once in 12 attempts in the top flight, but they've lost just 2 of their last 6 here at the Etihad. And when you're a team on the up, absolutely anything can happen. Oh, and I don't know, did you know that Manchester City are winless in their last 3 early kickoffs on a Saturday? It means it's all set up beautifully as the business end of the season takes off. So as we get ready for kickoff, I'm going to hand you over to our commentary team today, Stuart Pearce, but first, here's Sam Matterface.
Well, today's venue is the Etihad Stadium on the east side of Manchester, a stadium that is being expanded to fit in more supporters to a club that have been increasing their market share year by year. But a bit like the traders have discovered on the stock market this week, missteps, external forces and a bit of bad luck can lead to a downturn in your fortune. And Manchester City know exactly what that feels like right now. At the end of this reporting period, it will be noted that Manchester City have won fewer points than in any other season under Pep Guardiola. They have already conceded more goals this campaign than at any other point since his arrival, and it's possible that that defence could drop to levels not seen for 15 years. That said, they have staged a little bit of a mini recovery in that department with back-to-back clean sheets for the first time since last May. Not that anyone's getting too excited about that. Those fixtures were against Manchester United and Leicester, and their stock is not very high at all. Crystal Palace are thinking about record highs, looking to go 11 away matches without defeat for the first time in their history, and eyeing up a foray into the continental market for the very first time. Stuart Pearce is here. Stuart, City don't usually struggle against anyone for long, but Palace have had good games against them and become tricky opponents for them in recent years. What do you think it is about them that disrupts Pep's team?
Their organisation and their individual ability on the counter-attack to really hurt them. I'm looking at the team lineup, Sam, and you know what? I fancy Palace today. I really do. I think they can. The form they're on, they're coming into this with confidence. They got match winners that can get a goal out of nothing. They got a centre forward that's doing extremely well. Eza is on outstanding form. We know his ability, but and City have got 1 or 2 of their players not on good form and giving chances to youngsters.
Certainly have. And this is the 2 starting lineup, starting with Manchester City, the home team. Edison, the goalkeeper. Lewis at right back. Diaz. Gvardiol moves into centre back again. Nico O'Reilly starts at left back for the 3rd game in a row. In midfield, it's Gonzalez, Gundogan and Kovacic. McAtee supports Marmouche, and Kevin De Bruyne has that wandering role in behind the front 2. No Phil Foden in the squad today, picked up a knock last weekend. What about Crystal Palace? Well, they are without Mark Gay, their influential captain, after he was suspended, having been given a red card in the game with Brighton last weekend. It means that Jefferson Lerma continues in the middle of the back 3, or a part of the back 3. Henderson is the goalkeeper. Richards, Lacroix and Lerma, the back 3, will be interested to see how they actually configure themselves. Munoz on the right-hand side, Mitchell on the left as the wing-backs, Kamada and Wharton in the centre. Sarr and Eze look to supply Jean-Philippe Mateta, who is wearing a 3rd version of that water polo-style helmet which covers one of his ears, which was almost taken off in an FA Cup game. But his goal record, nothing short of fantastic. 9 in his last 10 appearances. There's no wonder that he has been linked with a move to Manchester United and others in the summer. Our referee today is Jared Gillett. Darren Cann, the World Cup final assistant, retires after today, and Peter Banks will be the VAR. At 3 o'clock over on Talksport 2, it's relegated Southampton against Aston Villa, who have the Champions League on their mind. So have we, because on Wednesday night we're in Madrid as Arsenal look to complete the job against Real Madrid. Tomorrow the Sunday session comes from Newcastle as we go around the ground Sunday style, and from 2:30 this afternoon, Adrian Durham has Troy Deeney and Jermaine Genius alongside him as he brings you all the goals as they go in. Right now it's Manchester City taking on the Palace, with Europe the goal for both, but after watching their stock drop, they want to make sure they still reach the Champions League, where they can still make top dollar. All 22 players take the knee to remind people that there is no room for racism, and then Jared Gillett gets us off and underway with the home team Manchester City in light blue jerseys, white shorts and dark socks, attacking the goal away to our right in the first half, and Palace all in yellow going from right to left. Stuart Pearce, the former Manchester City manager, is alongside me, and interestingly, as soon as I look down and away to my right, Crystal Palace are in that back five configuration rather than the three with the two wing-backs pushing on.
Yeah, as I say, it's a sign of a good side playing this the three-man stroke five-man at the back. Turn it into a five as quickly as you can, but make sure it's a three when you're going forward. De Bruyne's found McAtee early on. His cross is too high for Nico O'Reilly, who's just launched himself into the penalty area, and he is of a size, Nico O'Reilly. It goes over his head and then spirals out for a throw-in over on the right-hand side. It's not the first choice Palace defence. How much of a difference will that make to the Premier League's informal way team, do you think? Well, I think if this the early interaction there is anything to play by, Mark Gahey missing, I really rate this kid. I think he's an outstanding both at club and country level, and I think they'll miss him without a doubt. He's probably and there's no doubt about it, he's their best defender. But they were knocked over a little bit too readily just then. Kovacic just pulling one of the midfield players out of joint, and then from there it was like a deck of cards, people arriving too late, and McAtee should have delivered a better cross, to be fair, Sam.
Palace can briefly go into the top half with a win today. Manchester City will move into fourth before Chelsea and Newcastle United play tomorrow, and it is a really big week as far as that race for the top five is concerned, because Newcastle will catch up their games whilst all eyes are on Arsenal and Real Madrid on Talksport on Wednesday night. They play United tomorrow when we're on the Sunday session, and Palace at home on Wednesday. And if they were to pick up double 3 points there, and Chelsea, Aston Villa or Manchester City were to drop points this weekend, then Newcastle almost sort of absorb one of those positions in the top five. Here is Gundogan on to Marmoush, who's coming back from an offside position. The flag is up, and a free kick given on the edge of the 18-yard box. Yeah, it is a really important week for that reason, really, Stuart, isn't it? Because if Manchester City were to drop points here tonight and then Newcastle were to win two games, there's only going to be one place to play for, realistically.
Yeah, exactly that. And as I say, we've come to that stage of the season where we got 8 or 9 games to go, 7 games maybe, where as you tick the games off, you're ticking teams off that can't actually get into that Champions League place. So it's really important, especially for City, that they don't drop points in any way, shape or form.
Ball cleared from the left full-back position by Tyreek Mitchell of Crystal Palace. He sends it long towards Mateta, but it's cut out by Ruben Diaz. And it's out of play on this near touchline and away for a throw-in. City have been a little bit less potent than you would expect from a team that boasts so much talent. They have scored just 5 goals in their last 6 league matches. Here come Crystal Palace over on the right with Munoz, who's crossed into the box, reaches Mateta, whose header is narrowly off target, although I think he may have just strayed offside and the flag was up against him anyway. But it was a sign of what Crystal Palace do, really. I was at their game against Fulham the other week, Stuart, and they're quite happy to sit and soak up pressure and then spring on the counter-attack, and they have got potent weapons.
Yeah, they certainly have. Munoz, really aggressive position as right wing-back just then. Received the ball and no thought apart from putting that ball in the box, and I think Mateta just strayed offside too soon. It's very congested in the central band, isn't it? You picked up earlier Man City playing with 2 holders and then advanced to that Gundogan and De Bruyne as 2 in front of them, that box of 4.
Yeah, very congested as a result of that. Away by Lacroix, who just moves into the sort of right side of defence and manages to kick it clear from the edge of the penalty area. It goes to halfway. Gvardiol brings it down into Nico Gonzalez. Manchester City in possession, then travelling with the ball is Kovacic. He goes past Mateta, runs into the midpoint of the Palace half, sends it wide. O'Reilly with a crossing towards McAtee, but it's headed away by the retreating Jefferson Lerma, and then they manage to get it cleared, Crystal Palace, but there's no outball, so it comes back very quickly through Rico Lewis on the near side. Kevin De Bruyne drops in. picks it up, plays it centrally into Nico Gonzalez again. Now he's on the cusp of the centre circle in a dead central position. Taps it to Kovacic, lifts it over the top. McAtee is in behind here. His left-footed shot is tamed. He sort of side-footed that as a back pass back to the goalkeeper. That was a real opportunity.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I wondered whether Sammy'd have been better off dragging it onto his right and unloading with power on his right foot, but he tried to open his body up there and feed it into the far corner.
Well, that's a good chance for James McAtee, who's starting his first Premier League game of the season, and the first time he's done that for Manchester City. Did play in the Sheffield United team in the Premier League last season, actually scored against Crystal Palace. Here is Gundogan, out on the wide left-hand side. The ball picked up by Marmoush. Lovely little skill to take him past two players, and then he just runs out of room and scoots out of the perimeter of the playing surface, and it goes behind and away for a corner away to our right-hand side. It's Manchester City 0, Crystal Palace 0, live on Talksport in the sunshine at the Etihad Stadium.
Yeah, I don't know, is it Richards, I think, just pulled away from the challenge, didn't get a touch on it. Refs ended up giving a goal kick on the back of that, but Marmoush has probably been one of those successful signings, hasn't he, since he's come in. He's got good energy, good drive, and he offers them the threat, certainly with Haaland not being available.
Yeah, direct running and clever movement. He's been really impressive. He's so good with the ball at his feet as well. He's scored 6 goals, 3 of which all came in one game. Haaland is the only Manchester City player that has reached double figures in the league this season. He's got 21, but it's a huge proportion of City's goals, so they needed someone to come and supplement that attack, and Marmoush certainly has done that. Chelsea chasing a quadruple. Hold on a second, because Ederson has just played the ball rather skittishly out towards Ruben Diaz. He just had it at his feet. He was pretty relaxed with it, played it to his left. There was a little stumble there by Gvardiol, and then as the ball came back, he sort of had to slide it away from Eze and give it to Ruben Diaz, who was under pressure. He eventually gets it clear up towards the halfway line. Lerma wins it, and now Mitchell sends it back towards his defence, and it's all the way back to Henderson. So we can go off to Charlotte Richardson, who's got news of a goal in the FA Cup semi-final.
It's Chelsea 0, Liverpool 1. Against the run of play, the visitors take the lead. Olivia Smith expertly beating the offside trap, drove into the box towards goal, found the bottom left corner with great composure. Chelsea 0, Liverpool 1.
And that's a big goal for Liverpool. Chelsea chasing the quadruple, the first FA Cup semi-final for Liverpool since 2017. But as Liverpool have taken the lead, it's a 12:15 kick-off. Here is Richards in the heart of the defence for Crystal Palace, slipping it across to Lerma. A chance to get out on this left-hand side. Eze further up the pitch, moves into a central position, then goes wide out towards the left, outpaces Kovacic, then continues to control the ball despite attention from the Croatian. Takes it back into midfield, leaves it for Lerma, and then Kamada and Wharton exchange bump passes, and the ball is back at the heart of the defence with Lacroix, who works it out wide towards the right-hand side. Over on Talksport 2, Leeds against Preston. Ball on the right-hand side, in towards Eze at the far post. It's crossed in by Sarr, tapped in by Eze, and Crystal Palace lead at the Etihad again. It's a brilliant, classic bit of Crystal Palace play, with Sarr bursting down the right-hand side and getting the better of a slumbering defence. He moved into an advanced position, centred the ball to the far post. It was left by Mateta because he knew the space was afforded to Eze, who was running in on the edge of the 6-yard box. He's pushed it home, and Crystal Palace have stolen the lead.
Palace brilliantly patient in the build-up, on occasion threatened to give the ball away, but when they played out, it arrived at that man Eze in his own half. He carried the ball up the pitch, had to check back, and then the build-up was brilliant. The width on to Muniz, I think it was, on the far side, helped the ball round the corner. Then all of a sudden, the ball was played wide, and it was Mateta and Eze bearing in on goal. It was that man Eze at the far post with the easiest of tap-ins, and it was Sarr's ball across the face of goal. Fantastic play by Palace.
It was brilliant from Crystal Palace, and our semi-automated offside technology has checked and passed that goal. And I think it is worth pointing out that that's probably the first use in the Premier League that we've had of that technology. It's given the goal. It would have ruled it out had Mateta touched it in the middle of the park, because he was narrowly offside. But the key situation here is that Manchester City are behind against Crystal Palace. and they've conceded yet another goal, Stuart. And clean sheets have certainly been few and far between this season. They've conceded 41 goals in the Premier League this campaign.
Yeah, and as I made that statement earlier, the thing that won them the Champions League was they turned that defence that was a little bit loose on occasion when they were getting to the latter stages of big tournaments into a really tight defensive unit. And that seems to have gone now with the amount of changes they've had, all of those type of things. But it's a poor goal to concede, but a very, very good goal from Palace's point of view.
Well, it's a great sign for Crystal Palace as well, because when they take the lead, they have lost only one of their 14 Premier League games in which they have scored first. Leeds 1-1 with Preston. Solomon scored very early on, but Preston equalised within 2 minutes of that game. Leeds will go back top of the Championship if they get all 3 points today. They'll do that on goal difference. Burnley going into a 3-point lead at the top of the table last night after a victory over Norwich. Sheffield United just fallen off the pace a little bit there in action today as well, away at Plymouth. Here Crystal Palace lead by 1-0 away from home. Ball picked up over on the right side by Kamada. He sends it towards the left now, and Mitchell moving down the left touchline, sends it back to Jefferson Lerma. And this plays into Crystal Palace's hands in a way, Stuart, doesn't it? Because having gained the advantage, they'll be quite happy not to force the issue and just wait for their border raids.
Yeah, they certainly will, and they've got threats on either side. Munoz very aggressive with his position as right wing back, but you can see what they want to do. Get the ball into Eze's feet and let him create something. He looks so brimming with confidence at the moment.
He certainly does. He scored his first England goal in the last international break, was the catalyst for that victory against Fulham. Here they come down the right-hand side again, across into the box, takes the deflection off of Guardiola, goes into the arms of Ederson this time, and he pulls it into his chest and clears it away.
See, what Palace are doing really well, they're playing a three-pronged attack almost. Sarr, Mateta and Eze, really tight. What would you say? 20 metres between them, isn't it, where they are? And then they're running into those little channel areas in between the central defenders and the fullbacks, causing big problems, and that's where the goal come from.
Well, it means that when Munoz or Mitchell get down the side and into a crossing position, they've got 3 options in the centre. Largely, they've only got 2 central defenders, obviously, back in Manchester City, so a midfielder's got to drop in. Here is Sarr, picking the ball up centrally now, running and sending it out left towards Mitchell this time, who's crossed into the box, is dealt with by backpedaling Ruben Diaz, and he sends it away. And now a chance for a counter-attack. De Bruyne is leading it, up over the half-wide line and feeding Marmoush, who gets in behind Richards, slips it towards the goalkeeper's right. Good save by Henderson, comes back out to De Bruyne. He shoots from the edge of the area, and it goes narrowly wide after a deflection from Richards, who got back in the nick of time. It was a quick counter-attack. Marmoush thinks that there might have been an infringement there, and there's maybe some suggestion that there may well have been a foul or a handball on the edge of the 6-yard box, but certainly Marmoush was up and speaking to Jared Gillett very, very quickly. Pep Guardiola's not happy as well. He's having a word with the 4th official, Chris Kavanagh.
Yeah, it was a good break by City. The ball was cleared. I think it was more of a clearance than a well-timed pass, but I've got to say the timing of the pass by De Bruyne was brilliant. Marmoush as well, he offers that pace on the counter, opened his body up to slot it past the goalie. I thought he was going far corner. He tried to give the goalkeeper the eyes, and Pep at this moment in time is waiting for a second option.
Well, they're just checking to see whether or not there was a pull on the shirt. I don't think that the VAR is going to give a penalty here, so we will just have a corner for City, which is taken right-footed, right under Henderson, who grabs it from the sky and pulls it into his chest and will clear upfield. Manchester City 0, Crystal Palace 1, 13 minutes gone. You're listening to Talksport on this Saturday lunchtime, and we're with Sky Sports. Don't forget that you can stream the biggest Premier League games available with no contract on now, like Arsenal versus Brentford live today. Search Now Sports.
I think when we talk about the Premier League not being great, this has been a very enjoyable open encounter between these two. Both teams playing through the thirds pretty well, both teams looking decent on the counter-attack, and both teams offering a threat.
Here is Henderson to Lacroix, right edge of the penalty area, plays it to Richards. Richards comes infield, plays it up to Sarr. Sarr trying to roll from Gonzalez, who's got him in close quarters, dives in, commits a challenge, pushes it out to the far side. It goes out for a throw-in deep inside Crystal Palace territory. Leeds have taken the lead again. Jayden Bogle, 3 goals in the first 8 minutes of that game. Leeds lead by 2 goals to 1. No goals in League One so far, where Wigan and Wrexham are in action, and Wycombe and Stevenage as well. But in League Two we have had goals. Bradford have scored 2 and have had a man sent off in their game. They lead by 2 goals to 0. They're desperate to get all 3 points. They want promotion back to League One.
If you could, Sam, when Wealdstone take the lead against Barnet, keep me informed, will you?
Of course, I know that's
in our local derby match with the enemy.
Here is O'Reilly down the left-hand side towards the far post. The header from McAtee. It drops inside the area and Wharton gets it clear. It's sent out to the near touchline and Eze is chasing it. Crystal Palace managed to turn it away from Rico Lewis and get it back to Wharton and have some controlled possession again.
You know the beauty of Eze, he's like Switzerland. He's the safe zone. You can give him the ball and no one else can touch him. And he can get your team up the pitch, comfortable on it, lifts the tempo of the game or slows it down accordingly. Really clever.
Barnet 0, Wealdstone 0, just so you know.
OK, thanks, mate. Thanks for that.
Here is Nico Gonzalez. I thought you said, when you said he was like Switzerland, I thought, he stores your money for you. Here is Lewis on this near side. Back towards halfway. It's picked up by Ruben Diaz. Then tries to break the lines with a good pass into Kovacic, who then looks to feed it into Gundogan. But it's very congested in that centre area of the pitch and snuffled away by the Crystal Palace midfield. Ball works out wide. There's a bit of space for Lewis. It runs kindly for him. He turns it back infield, and Kovacic had to adjust his position to control it before shifting it back to Ruben Diaz. Remember, those Manchester City goals have dried up in recent times, and they are a goal behind here.
I think you're suggesting that Manchester City are doing all the things that don't look good in a team, conceding goals and goals drying up.
That is a bit of a problem, and it's a counter-attack problem here for them too, because Sarr has just almost got on the end of an opportunity before Vardiol, who was high up the pitch and had to just adjust and dive in to deny Ismaila Sarr a breakaway on the right-hand side. I mean, that was the perfect opportunity for Palace to get another counter-attack away, and they had 3 players in that attack once again.
Well, that's something that they've done really well, wouldn't they? When they do counter-attack, you know full well if one goes into a sort of wider area, there's at least 2 filling between the goalposts, and that was probably about half ounce in weight short of being another goal for Palace.
Yep, the through ball just a little bit too close to Vardiol, who did manage to time his challenge really well. Ball sent down into the right wing position, and Lewis is chasing it. He's bumped off the ball by Mitchell, and that's going to be a free kick to Manchester City down by the corner flag. It's still 1-0 to the visitors, the Londoners, and Oliver Glasner has done a really good job with Crystal Palace, especially since the turn of the year, where the only team that can trump their record is Liverpool. They are 10 away games without defeat in the league, and they have lost just 2 of the last 17 matches in all competitions. FA Cup semi-finalists, of course. Here is De Bruyne placing the ball in a couple of inches in from the right touchline, and he'll hit this right foot in and outswinger towards the back post, but it's missed all of the blue shirts, headed away by the American Richards, and then collected by Rico Lewis, and then out to the far side, chopped in by Marmouche. It's headed away again by the resolute Crystal Palace back line. Won by McAtee. Just in front of the centre circle is Lewis again. Keeps them on the front foot. It's fired in, stopped by Lerma, cleared away by Palace. Out to the far side. Was a bit behind Munoz, so he couldn't get on that rampaging run that he loves to do. But they have sent the ball forward now. Sarr couldn't hold it. Lewis intervened, and Manchester City have possession back again on the halfway line. We've played 18 and a half minutes on Talksport this Saturday lunchtime, where there are lots of games in the EFL that matter up and down the country that kick off at 12:30 today. None more so than that Leeds United game and that Sheffield United game that are taking place in the Championship, and there is coverage over on Talksport too. De Bruyne in towards the near post with the cross from the wide right, cut out by Lacroix. It bounces out by the corner flag, and then Lerma controls it. Mitchell hoiks it high into the sky, and it drops in the first row of the stand that we're sitting in, and it's going to be a throw into Manchester City.
Yeah, the positive points for City, having gone a goal down, they can find room between the midfield and with a pass, and I've just seen a point in case as I was opening my mouth, straight into Gundogan's feet on the edge of the box, and they've been able to find those passes on the odd occasion.
That was a really good ball into Gundogan, who used his balletic feet to take it into his body, but immediately Lacroix was there to pinch it, and eventually there was a foul given against the Manchester City player, and as a result, after Kamada was knocked to the floor, it's a free kick to Crystal Palace, which they send long out towards the right, and Munoz has got the better of O'Reilly here physically, and he's won a corner. He did brilliantly there because he looked second favourite at one point. It was a long ball by Henderson. He just sort of smashed that up into the right wing position. It was chased by Munoz and by O'Reilly, and Munoz dealt with it better, and it's out for a corner.
Yeah, Munoz just used a bit of experience there, just nudged the youngster out the way slightly. I think O'Reilly thought it was a comfortable see this out, and it was anything but. He just had a nudge just at the right time, I think, just to turn the ball over.
Only 12 goals conceded away from home in the Premier League this season, Crystal Palace, and they have overtaken Arsenal as the set-piece kings. What can they do from this corner? In towards the near post. Richards is there, rising in front of the goalkeeper to dab it home. From the corner kick from Wharton, it was a perfectly swirling delivery right into the danger zone and on the money with a forceful header, literally 2 yards from goal. It was Chris Richards. There'll be question marks about why the goalkeeper didn't come and try and punch that and why the defence didn't deal with it. But Richards has got up higher than anybody else, and he's given Crystal Palace a 2-goal lead away at the dethroned Premier League champions.
Well, great ball in, I've got to say, by Wharton. Good whip, but it's landed dead centre of the goal. Goalkeeper has ended up being blocked half by his own man, I think, half by a block from a Palace player. But this is a poor goal to concede. He'll not score an easier goal than that. He's literally, his contact is probably 2 metres from the goal line. Goalkeeper absolutely in no man's land. And 2-0 to Palace.
Well, I mean, that's quite an amazing turn of events. Manchester City unhappy again, suggesting that they felt as if Mateta had impeded the goalkeeper. Did you think that that was the case?
No, he was in and around the goalkeeper, it's fair to say. But listen, I think sometimes goalkeepers go to deal with situations, Sam, and they want charity to start with, and that puts them in a wrong mindset, if you like, to be aggressive in and around their goal line.
Well, 2 goals for Crystal Palace in the first quarter of the match, and it's 2-0. And a brilliant delivery by Wharton. A super bit of construction from Crystal Palace. And I mentioned that they were the set-piece kings of the Premier League. That's their 15th goal from set-pieces. Arsenal, Villa and Everton have got 13 from set-pieces. That's their 10th goal from a corner alone. And there will be a bit of an inquest. You know, why was Mateta allowed to pressurise Ederson? Why did no one else go and intervene in that situation? It looks a little bit as if it's slightly a bit casual from Manchester City.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. It certainly was that. That is for sure. And Palace are playing okay, but you know, would I say they're playing well enough to be a 2-goal advantage up? I'm not sure about that. But
Gundogan into De Bruyne, edge of the D, trying to respond. He gets it again, shoots towards the far corner, hits the post, goes back to Gundogan, and then it goes out on this near side after Mitchell deals with it. I think there was an offside flag up anyway as a result of maybe a touch by James McAtee, but Gundogan almost profiting after the ball came back off the post. A wonderful effort from Kevin De Bruyne, who actually had it pinched first time. It came back to him, edge of the D, and then he swirled the ball to the far post. It smashed that post and came back into the penalty area.
Well, Sam, I don't know who said there's not much action in the Premier League. We certainly got a filling of it here at the moment, haven't we?
Certainly have today, that is for sure. And we've had a brilliant start to the game. We played just 23 minutes, and it is 2-0 to Crystal Palace. And it's been a tactical masterclass from Oliver Glasner, who this week actually has been linked with the job at Tottenham Hotspur, a job that isn't available because Ange Postecoglou is in it, but Ange Postecoglou himself said this week that the common wisdom is no matter what happens there, I'm probably done. And he said, well, I read that in the paper, he said, anyway.
He's based that on statements like you've just made there about Glasner being in line for Tottenham.
Well, he's also complained there's a mole in the camp at Postecoglou as well today. Here is Mateta down the right-hand side, looking to gallop on towards Munoz. Munoz into the penalty area. Mateta trying to back him up. And then O'Reilly wins it and takes it away towards the left full-back position and does brilliantly to evade the challenge of Mateta. It goes into midfield and then Gonzalez gets it back to Ederson. It's chested down by O'Reilly and taken out towards the near side. And then sent into Ruben Diaz.
Munoz is like Juan Torino, the 400-metre runner from yesteryear, isn't he? The way he gallops on, incredible. Sees the opportunity and literally just gallops forward. Really gives a good opportunity for his team to get forward.
You say yesteryear. What year would that be?
I think I've gone back to about 1968 Mexican Olympics there, right, I'm afraid to say.
Okay.
We'll have to look him up at half-time.
I have to get their history books out for that one. I must admit, just to go a little bit over my head, that one. Maybe that's because I'm so youthful.
Well, there is that. There is that about you,
me and
amongst other things.
Reshmin both looking across the line as if to say, yeah, you've been clinging on to that youth. Yeah, probably right. Swindon pull a goal back against 10-man Bradford in League 2. Remember, over on Talksport 2, the Leeds-Preston game is still available. Munoz has got it again on that right-hand side. He slipped it into the path of Kamada. There's three waiting in the centre. It's pulled back towards Sarr. And he sent it over the top of the crossbar from a tight angle on the edge of the 6-yard box. It's another great opportunity for Crystal Palace. And I tell you what, when they get down that right-hand side, Crystal Palace, they approach that Manchester City defence. They slice them open like a hot knife through butter.
I'll tell you what they do brilliantly, Palace. They turn defence or a semi-opportunity into an overload in the opposition's box very, very quickly. They arrived, the ball got whipped across the face of goal, and there's 4 Palace players in and around the goal area looking to score. It's fantastic, it really is.
Chris Richards has got his first goal for Crystal Palace this season. He was on hand to turn in a corner, and they've got another opportunity here. It's 4-on-2 in Crystal Palace's favour, and Mitchell's ball is not good enough. If it had been, that would have been 3-0. He's got the ball on the left-hand side. He's tried to quickly steer it to the far post where he's seen that Sarr has advanced, but he didn't get enough curl on it, and he actually dollied it up into the arms of Ederson, and that is a massive let-off for Manchester City, who are all over the place defensively.
Yeah, you're absolutely spot on there. When that ball goes beyond the midfield, all of a sudden the defence are either 3-on-3 or outnumbered, you name it. But Palace have got the aptitude to want to make the hard yards, to make the box.
But the key thing here is it's pretty obvious what they're doing as well. They're sending the ball over the press, and then they've got more men further on than the Manchester City bodies that have gone to try and shut them down. So there's always an overload for them. They've got more numbers in the advanced positions.
Yeah, they certainly have, and they're certainly making the most of it when they do get in these areas.
I mean, I would have expected a little adjustment to have been made by now. Munoz has won the ball again over on the far side, and he started to run up the field. He's got Eze on this near touchline. Eze's got it now, edge of the area, cuts in, right-footed. It's 3-0. Well, the offside flag has gone up very quickly, and that may spare the Manchester City blushes, but Crystal Palace think that they've gone 3-0 in front. And Eberici Eze is still celebrating because he thinks he's done his job. Well, the VAR and the semi-automated technology have got a big call to make here. The goal has been initially disallowed, but if this counts, this is a massive problem for Pep Guardiola.
Yeah, this is going to be pretty tight. I've got to say, the ball from Munoz, I thought he was offside. But just looking at the replay, I think he has just overstepped the mark by literally the length of his foot. But you've got to say he should never have been offside from there, 1 point. But when he come inside, he knew exactly what he was doing. Come inside the defender, open the goal up and slide it beyond the goal.
Well, the goal has been disallowed, but I would love to see the measurements, because those measurements are going to be minuscule. There was a very quick check by the new technology, that is for certain. But I'd love to see the picture, because I don't think it's by much, Stuart.
Oh, it's certainly not by much. But when you're looking across the line like Eze is, and he's an intelligent footballer, he should never have been caught offside.
There's a little a round of applause here for two Manchester City supporters who sadly passed away very quickly, one after the other. Father and son, Justin and Alan Chappell, big Manchester City fans who passed away a few weeks ago, and our best wishes to the family, and it's a big banner over on the far side paying tribute to them. Ball collected by Henderson. And Manchester City got a great grip here because they are fortunate that they are only 2-0 down. Mitchell, if he sends that ball into Sarr, that's 3-0. And Eza, if he stays onside, it could have been 4.
So this has got the hallmarkings, if the game follows the same format, of a 4 or 5-1 victory for Crystal Palace. It really has.
Well, Pep Guardiola standing on the edge of the technical area with his hands behind his back, just keeping an eye on proceedings. They must be thinking about making half-time changes, because this is significant in the race for the Champions League. Remember, we mentioned earlier how big a week it is for Newcastle United, with the 2 games that they've got, the 2 games in hand that they have over the course of the next 4 days. Tomorrow they play Manchester United, and Wednesday night they play Crystal Palace. Here is Gundogan far side. Infield it goes to Kovacic, back to Gonzalez, who works it out onto his onto his foot, and then Kamada goes through him, and that's going to be a yellow card. He had already passed the ball and City were in possession, but it was a poor challenge by Kamada, and that's going to be a yellow card. Yeah,
he's decided to slide out and go to ground to try and get a challenge on it. I think Gonzalez went down, done 3 rolls, waved at the referee, and then got straight up again.
Yeah, I don't think he really hurt himself as much as he was trying to illustrate.
No.
You are listening to Manchester City 0, Crystal Palace 2 on Talksport with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Making a big move or planning a clear out with vans of all shapes and sizes. If you've got a plan, then they have got a van.
When you say if you're looking for a clear out, do you think Man City might hire one this summer for a few players? Is that what you're suggesting, Sam?
Stop putting words in my mouth. That's the second time you put words in my mouth today. We've only been on air for 32 minutes.
You're welcome. Now, it's opportunities like this that might give City a way back into the game. Looks like De Bruyne stood over it. He's got decent distance to get it up and down over the wall.
Yep, he's taken a healthy run up. It's dead centre, 3 yards back from the edge of the D. There's a 4-man Crystal Palace wall. Henderson poised. It's De Bruyne who strikes it and straight into the net. And he's caught Henderson completely off guard. It kisses the inside of the post, and it's in. And Manchester City are back in the game. He runs away celebrating. Manchester City on the score sheet. He hit it right-footed through the wall. He picked out a gap, and he kissed it off the inside of the post and in. Actually bounced in front of the goal as well. Henderson couldn't readjust in time and could just look over his shoulder as the net bulged. It's Manchester City 1, Crystal Palace 2.
Yeah, really strange, this one. It was a strange old free kick. In fact, I don't think he's got his wall lined up correctly. I think the wall doesn't look straight to me. It's covering the other post. That had no recognition. 2 City players stood masking the goalkeeper's view. They ducked down, went over them, bounced, hit the post and went in. And City have got a lifeline in a game that they've been clearly second best.
Well, I mean, that absolutely looks like a mishap as far as the wall is concerned, because there seemed to be far too much of a gap on what would be the goalkeeper's side, bearing in mind that the wall was lined up on the other side, and they've got the ball again edge of the penalty area here, and De Bruyne's got the chance to strike, and Lequara stood in front of him and blocked his effort, and it's repelled to the far side, the left. They're on the way back into the game now, City. Marmouche into the centre, headed by McAtee, and it just misses the foot of the post by a couple of inches and swirls behind, and it's out and away for a goal kick. But the Manchester City fans now being conducted by Pep Guardiola, who's telling them to get on their feet, and they're almost back into the game and level within a matter of moments, Stuart.
I've got to say, McAtee's missed an absolute sitter there. He drifted into the area. He was dead centre of goal, just outside the 6-yard box, and he's not had to jump a great deal for it. All he's got to do is make sure he hits the target and guide the ball. Enough pace on the ball, and he's failed to do that.
Well, City scored 3 minutes and 20 seconds after that third Palace goal was disallowed. And it's now Manchester City 1, Crystal Palace 2 here, and there has been a goal in the Women's FA Cup semi-final at Kings Meadow, Charlotte Richardson.
Chelsea 1, Liverpool 1. Erin Cuthbert draws the host level in first half additional time. A hooked effort with just enough lift to beat the outstretched gloves of the goalkeeper. Chelsea 1, Liverpool 1.
Cheers, Charlotte. Thank you very much. Leeds lead Preston by 2-1 and are hoping to head back to the top of the Championship. Sheffield United, who've been stuttering a little bit, are trailing away at Plymouth, who have got a terrible run in. And Manchester City are on the attack down the left-hand side with Nico O'Reilly. Back to the centre of midfield and Nico Gonzalez. Kovacic takes on Mateta, plays it towards the left. That's just going to give Crystal Palace pause for thought, I think. Stuart Pearce, after what was a pretty seamless start for them, the first half an hour of this game, they had it all their own way.
Yeah, they certainly did. And since then, to be fair to City, they've scored the goal.
Here's McAtee inside the penalty area, down the left side of the box. He sends it towards the far post. De Bruyne is there. Back to Gundogan. He's miskicked here. Marmoush hasn't. It's dropped on the edge of the 6-yard box. He's volleyed it home, and Manchester City are level. They've come back from 2 goals down. It's all square at the Etihad Stadium, and Omar Marmoush has his 7th goal in City colours. Pep Guardiola is going mad on the touchline. He's having a go at the Manchester City fans and telling them to increase their volume levels. But after a couple of seriously missed opportunities inside the box, eventually it's fallen to Omar Marmoush, and he has smashed it home.
Well, yet another poor Premier League game with not much going on, Sam. Incredible. I mean, Palace had enough players back defending, but they weren't active enough in getting to the ball. City done brilliantly, keeping it alive in and around the box, and all of a sudden it's 2-2. City have hit the post as well and missed a gilt-edged header from McAtee. And as you say, I just think the 2 defenders, Richards being one of them, should have been driving out to Mamouche and trying to get his head down and get a block a little bit sooner.
Well, Omar Marmoush worked under Oliver Glasner at Wolfsburg. He's just punished a little bit of ponderous defending by Palace there. And, I mean, I'll go back to the Gundogan effort, Stuart, where he miskicked his effort just before the ball ran to Marmoush, and Marmoush came running in and smashed it into the bottom corner past the helpless Dean Henderson. That second City goal scored 3 minutes 17 seconds after their first. 2-2. Here is Gonzalez, back out towards the left-hand side when it's picked up by Gundogan, who's just dropped a little bit deeper. 2-0 Crystal Palace led until the 33rd minute of this game. Kevin De Bruyne and Omar Marmoush scoring within a few minutes of one another to change the game again. It's 2-2. Here is Gundogan moving up towards the left-hand angle of the penalty area, trying to send it back to Gonzalez, back out to Gundogan again, then on to Nico O'Reilly, and now Gundogan once more. And Pep Guardiola a little bit frustrated that the ball didn't go into the box there. Half-time at Kings Meadow, get there in just a second, but the ball has been played up to De Bruyne and then back to Diaz. Diaz back to De Bruyne once more. He moves up to the edge of the area, feeds it out to Rico Lewis. So Lewis back to Diaz, and then centrally it goes to Gonzalez. Gonzalez 15 yards back from the edge of the area, flicked by De Bruyne around the corner looking for McAtee. It's headed away by Lacroix. Not a great clearance that by Jefferson Lerma, and Lewis has got it on the edge of the 18-yard box. It was not great from Lewis, and the ball eventually goes out off Lewis for a throw into Crystal Palace. So Charlotte Richardson, what's the state of play at the break in the FA Cup semi-final?
Chelsea 1, Liverpool 1. Things are evenly poised in the semi-final here. The underdogs taking the lead courtesy of a clinical strike from Olivia Smith. Things weren't clicking for Chelsea in the final third, but they were able to draw level late in the half. Erin Cuthbert punishing Liverpool's defence for not clearing their lines after some great work down the right-hand side from Sandy Baltimore. All to play for second half, Sam. Chelsea 1, Liverpool 1.
Interesting to see what happens in that game. All to play for there, all to play for here, where it's 2-2. And here is Mateta, just on the edge of the centre circle. And you do think, though, Stuart, despite the fact there's a yellow card comes out for Gonzalez, who was pulling on the back of Mateta's jersey, you do think that despite the fact that City have got themselves back into this game, one, the goal scoring's not over yet, and two, Crystal Palace will certainly get another chance.
Yeah, that is definitely the case. I mean, we've identified City's back line as being a bit loose on occasions. You've got to say that Palace are offering, as we picked up earlier, offering opportunities for Manchester City to feed passes in between the lines, which is opening the goal up and goal shooting opportunities.
A yellow card for Nico Gonzalez, and then an attempt from halfway by Crystal Palace, which goes right over the goal away to our left and out for a goal kick. It was a bit of a wasted opportunity, that, actually, wasn't it? I mean, did they spot Ederson off his line and then hope that there would be an opportunity? We're just getting that semi-automated offside technology, and it is tight, isn't it?
Oh, it's really tight, but there was no need for it to be that tight, the Eza disallowed goal, and that makes it 3-0. All of a sudden, a couple of minutes later, we're 2-2.
We are 2-2. Live on Talksport this Saturday lunchtime. And Crystal Palace, who were in front and in command, are now back all square with the team that were champions of England, but now can't be. Here's O'Reilly into Marmoush, back to the edge of the penalty area. Gundogan has got it now. He sends it back across to De Bruyne. De Bruyne with a chance to cross. Marmoush wanted that in early. He declined the invitation to deliver it from the right side there, De Bruyne. Back centrally to Kovacic. De Bruyne's got it again. He's low ball into the box. Tried to slip it into the channel for Gundogan to run onto. He couldn't quite reach it, and it's picked up by Henderson, and it will be cleared away, and it remains 2-2.
I was just checking myself as a co-comms just then. De Bruyne plays a straight ball that is nowhere near his teammate, but you know exactly what he was attempting to do. So you cut him slack and say, oh, that was unlucky. You know, another player on the pitch, you say to yourself, oh, what was he trying to do there? He's got that so wrong, it's incredible.
But he had a different picture, maybe, to other people.
Indeed.
Currently Manchester City 2, Crystal Palace 2. And for the latest odds, you can head to Betfair, the official betting partner of Talksport's Premier League coverage, where right now you can get Manchester City to win the game at 15-8 on. The Crystal Palace victory is now out to 6-1. The draw 5-2. And that's all thanks to Betfair. Get a free £10 bet when you bet £10 on football accas or bet builders this week. Opt-in and previous deposit required. Minimum odds, T's and C's apply. 18+, BigGambleAware.org. Here is Gvardiol, far side. 42 minutes on the clock on TalkSport. And it's now with Ruben Diaz. He moves the ball forward into the advanced position, shifts it out towards McAtee. McAtee, who's had a couple of good opportunities in the game, but has not taken them. In fact, he had one of the first opportunities in the game, sort of dollied it up into the arms of Henderson, and then missed a good header from the edge of the 6-yard box. We could have had more goals than we've got here. We've had 4 so far in the match. Here is Diaz, out wide to Rico Lewis, helps it further out towards De Bruyne, looked for the return, it was cut out by Kamada, and then De Bruyne making sure that Eze can't escape, and the free kick is given. And again, any other player might have got a yellow card in those circumstances, but it's Kevin De Bruyne, so maybe they're giving it. They're waiting the cards till they sign his leaving one.
Yeah, we don't want him suspended for potentially later on in the season, that is for sure. Yeah. I think both teams and the formations that both teams have adopted can hurt the opposition, but defensively they're struggling to stop the opposition creating efforts at goal.
Well, certainly Crystal Palace, for that second goal where Marmoush gets the equaliser, were a little bit, I thought, hesitant.
They certainly were. As I say, they sat off and watched. And there's certain times where you've got to look and say, hang on, it's high alert, it's danger time. They didn't realise that in and around their 6-yard box, aggressively enough. Big goal in the Championship. Jez Raksaki has scored for Sheffield United away at Plymouth. And in League 2, 10-man Bradford City extend their lead over Swindon. It's 3-1 now. And Barnet lead Wildston 1-0 in the National League. I didn't want to know whether Barnet have scored. I just need to know the Stones goals, please. But I know there's a lot of people out there that do need to hear this. 0, I'm afraid. Free kick in front of the centre circle for Manchester City. And it's Kevin De Bruyne who's going to take it.
Remember, he scored a free kick, which was really oddly defended by Crystal Palace. I think that probably needs further examination later. Sent into the box by De Bruyne, headed away by Mateta, and then Sarr trying to escape on the far side, gets there ahead of Marmouche, gets it back to Lerma, goes back into Sarr, and then that's a little bit short, and Gundogan tried to nab it, almost did. It's spilt out to the far side, the left, and Lerma has to go across and stop Marmouche from progressing, and it's out for a throw-in over on the far side. There's going to be 3 minutes of added time at the end of the first 45. 45 minutes we've just seen 4 goals and a couple more opportunities, including one disallowed goal for Crystal Palace that could have led to more strikes in the game. Now another counter-attack from Palace is on. They have just got to grips with that counter-attack because they've shut that down very quickly. Munoz, since the 2 goals from Manchester City, hasn't seen much joy down the right.
No, he hasn't, and that's probably not so much down to him, more down to the fact that Palace haven't secured the ball in the mid-band. They've had it deep into their final third, but not been able to get out accordingly.
Here is De Bruyne. Back in field it goes to Diaz, and then forward into Nico Gonzalez. Back to Josko Vardiol. And then, again, just a little bit too safe, and Pep Guardiola getting frustrated down in front of us as Manchester City slowly build up towards the halfway line. It's sent wide out towards the right. De Bruyne turns it back towards halfway. Now it's collected by Diaz. Everybody in Crystal Palace yellow is behind the ball and trying to defend Manchester City's progress, stop them from getting up the pitch, but they've worked it wide now onto Nico O'Reilly, and then back in field it goes to Gvardiol. Gvardiol to Diaz, and then Lewis, who just holds it up, waits. Kaplan is back in position, so he can't go any further. In fact, Manchester City, I don't think, have gone any further than the midpoint of the Palace half for a few moments now. De Bruyne trying to change that. Lewis breaks the lines. Back to De Bruyne, edge of the penalty area. He's free on goal. He shoots over the bar. Well, what a chance for Manchester City to come from behind to lead 3-2 before the break. A lovely, well-worked move. They literally passed their way through the Crystal Palace defence. Lewis involved, so was De Bruyne, and when he got the ball back inside the penalty area, it was him against Henderson, and usually there's only one winner there.
Yeah, as I say, done brilliant to get there. I've got to say, when you look at the Palace back line, they're not filling up parts of the box quickly enough. They've got that 5-man back line in place, 2 in front of that in Kamada and Wharton, and I don't think certainly Wharton isn't readjusting his position quickly enough.
That's a poor defensive header by Gvardiol, and he's lucky that Munoz didn't manage to get hold of it, because had he had done so, there would have been real problems for the Manchester City backline, because there were 3 in advance of the Manchester City defence. Here is Kevin De Bruyne over on the left-hand side. Marmouche speeding away. Lacroix goes and tries to keep pace with him. Makes sure he doesn't enter the penalty area. De Bruyne's got it and then lost out to Sarr. He's given it to Marmouche anyway. Nico Gonzalez, infield it goes. Collected now by Kovacic. And then it's collected by Ruben Diaz. And again, the patient build-up from Manchester City, just trying to find a way past this Crystal Palace backline. Again, looked a little bit as if they were going to easily sway past them, and then Munoz has given away a throw-in over on the far side, which has led to another Manchester City attack. Tossed in by De Bruyne. That's going to miss McAtee and go out for a goal kick.
Yeah, what I was saying about Palace, there's such a big onus on the 2 holding midfield players for Palace, Kamada and Wharton, to get across, readjust, redefend. And I just think they're doing it too slowly, especially Wharton. I've just looked at him for the last couple of minutes, Sam, and he's just not redefending quickly enough.
Well, it's half-time, and Crystal Palace took what looked like an unassailable lead. They went in front, 2-0, with goals from Eze and Richards, only to be pegged back before half-time by Kevin De Bruyne. A free kick which seemed to go through the wall and past Henderson with very little trouble. And then an equaliser from Omar Marmouche after poor defending by Crystal Palace. A missed kick by Ilkay Gundogan. And Marmouche has made it 2-2 at the break. Manchester City have been Champions League ever present since 2011. There was one point in that first half where we thought it was going to be a struggle for them to get back into the top 5. But having turned the game around, in a sense, got back to level terms. They've got every chance to go on and win the game in the second 45. At the break, it's Manchester City 2, Crystal Palace 2.
Sam Matterface, thank you very much. Yes, the fans are heading in to get their half-time refreshments as we ponder what we've just watched. Stuart Pearce, it feels as though Manchester City were sleepwalking through that for the first 33 minutes, but they have burst into life and possibly look more like the side that can exploit the weaknesses of Crystal Palace, of which there aren't always many, but it looks like they're finding a way.
Yeah, Palace are struggling to deal with the gaps in between in that midfield area. City can find little probing passes. City are overloading that, playing a sort of 2-2 midfield shape, very narrow. And as I mentioned to Sam, back end of that, I'm looking at Walton's reaction when the ball goes either side of him. He's got to react and redefend quicker. I see him walking in situations where I'm thinking to myself, there's real danger here behind you, in and around the box. You've got to feel that area around the penalty spot on occasion. Both teams look as though they can hurt the opposition, no doubt about that. Palace dictated the early tempo of the game. If that third goal would have gone in, this game,
I was just about to say that.
Yeah, sorry, the game could have been put to bed at that stage. But since then, City have hit the post. De Bruyne has missed a gilt-edged chance, and well, this game could end up 5-5.
Yeah, it really could, couldn't it? And I guess it was players like De Bruyne who are here and say, I've been here through the ages. I know exactly what this team needs to do. You saw Pep Guardiola geeing up the crowds as well in a way that he doesn't always do, but he was today. I think those goals have reignited their belief that they can actually do something and get a result here, because they are the side that need it more.
They certainly do, no doubt about that. But I think there's a frustration with Pep that he's delivered so many honours for this football club, and it's now that the club need the support, and the support to be vocal and supportive. And there's a little bit of frustration. He thinks that maybe the fans should lead that a little bit more. Yeah,
and it looks like he's trying to get them to do that. I feel like this second half could be very, very interesting indeed, because as you say, it does feel like City are the side with a bit more momentum going into that.
They have. Maybe the half-time whistles come at the right time for Palace, They've got the opportunity to reset again, but the one thing you do know, there's going to be another goal in this second half or two.
I think so, yeah. A goal or two, or even more, as you said. OK, here at half-time then at the Etihad, it's been a really intriguing first half. As we say, Manchester City were 2-0 down. Crystal Palace with a couple of quick-fire goals on the just after the half-an-hour mark, but it was Kevin De Bruyne with the free kick. Got them back in the game. And a few moments later, Omar Marmoush brought them level. 2-2 it is then here at the Etihad. Over on Talksport 2, though, is currently Leeds 2, Preston 1. Also in the Championship, it's half-time at Home Park for Talksport's John Roeder.
Hull 0, Sheffield United 1. A goal late in the first half after 44 minutes for Jesus Run Raksaki. He was set up by Gus Harmer. Raksaki cutting in from the right side of the penalty area, and a left-footed shot across goal into the back of the net. In truth, that's the only moment of quality in the opening 45 minutes. Sheffield United, who'd lost their last two to slip out of the top two in the Championship, weren't really threatening at all. Plymouth, well, they didn't threaten at all Michael Cooper, their former goalkeeper, in the Sheffield United goal. So never mind the performance for Sheffield United, feel the half-time score. They are ahead. Plymouth Argyle 0, Sheffield United 1.
John Roeder, thank you very much. Exactly, Sheffield United keeping up the pressure on the top two. Leeds and Burnley. Leeds actually go top with that scoreline as it stands. Right, half-times elsewhere in the EFL. We've got in League 1, it's Wigan 0, Wrexham 0, Wycombe 0, Stevenage 0 in League 2, Swindon 2, Bradford City 3. OK, that's only at half-time. And Doncaster 0, AFC Wimbledon 1 in the Scottish Premiership. Remember, Celtic has to win this and hope that Rangers lose tomorrow. They're 4-1 up against Kilmarnock at the moment, and if Rangers lose tomorrow, then they can seal the Scottish Premiership title at this early stage. And in the Women's FA Cup semi-final, that kicked off at 12:15. Let's get the latest from Kingsmeadow with Talksport's Charlotte Richardson.
It's Chelsea 1, Liverpool 1. We are back underway for the second half. No changes made by either manager, and this semi-final is even. It's on an edge. Liverpool, considered the underdogs, have come with a game plan which has worked to good effect. Some late pressure in the first half telling, and the equaliser came just before the half-time whistle. Sonia Bonpastor, the Blues boss, is unbeaten in all domestic competitions, eyeing up Wembley, but lots to do in the next 45 minutes to keep Chelsea's quadruple hopes alive. It's Chelsea 1, Liverpool 1.
Thank you very much, Charlotte. Yes, so much football going on across the country, across the divisions for you this Saturday lunchtime. We'll be keeping you across all of it here on Talksport. Our 12:30 kickoff, though, live and exclusive in the Premier League. It's at the Etihad, and it's been an intriguing game so far. The scoreline at half-time, it is Crystal Palace 2. They're taking an early 2-0 lead, but Manchester City have come back with 2 goals of their own. It's currently 2-2 here. Second half is up next.
Game day exclusive on Talksport with Sky Sports. Stream the biggest Premier League games available with no contract on Now. Like Arsenal versus Brentford live today. Search Now Sports. 18+, stream via internet. Terms apply.
At Betfair, we relish the plot twists that football's tense run-in delivers. With titles, promotions and relegations on the line, the form book can take a back seat and the drama has the power to rewrite scripts. Get a free £10 bet when you bet £10 on Accas or Bet Builders on football this week. Betfair. Play different.
Opt-in and previous deposit required. Valid for 72 hours on Football Accas or Bet Builders. Min combined odds of 1.5. T's and C's apply. 18+, gambleaware.org.
You could skydive out of a plane. Or swim with sharks. You might even skinny dip in icy cold waters. Or you could get that inexpressible high, that guaranteed rush from finding just the thing you wanted, the thing you needed, at a great sale price. IKEA sale now on. IKEA, the wonderful everyday.
Get set for spring with great Easter deals on big brands at Screwfix. Like the DeWalt 18-volt XR brushless impact driver bare unit, now only $54.99. And the Titan 140-bar pressure washer was $99.99, now only $79.99. That's a saving of £20. Don't miss out. These Easter deals must end on the 21st of April. Shop the Screwfix app, online or in store. Subject to availability. See screwfix.com for full T's and C's.
You don't just check in to a village hotel. You work out. You jump in. You play on. You tuck in. And drink up. Village Hotels. 33 locations with everything under one roof. A huge gym with pool and great membership opportunities. And a buzzing pub and grill with delicious food, ice-cold beers and live sport. Check out villagehotels.com and work out, stay, meet and play.
There's not many things as epic as jumping over a volcano in a monster truck or even swinging over a crocodile-infested river. But 15% off when you spend £15 at Mackey's comes pretty close. Deal drop. Redeem all week only in the app. 18+ app only. One-time use per week until the 20th of April. Minimum spend and discount applied to food and drink items only. Participating restaurants, T's and C's apply.
We all fantasize about our perfect home. Watching the big game, cozied up in the snug.
Another 7-0 win!
Balmy summer nights with the kids playing on the lawn.
We're playing real-life football!
But come on, this isn't real. Listen, if you're serious about making your fantasy a reality, find out what your home is worth instantly with a free online valuation estimate. Get real about moving. Get on the market. Most common time to obtain an online quote between 1st of April 2024 and 30th of June 2024 was under 3 minutes. Excludes Northern Ireland.
The season is shaping up, and whether they're going for glory or going down, it's all to play for. Get the ultimate football coverage with the Sun's free pull-out Goals! With the best writers pitchside for in-depth match reports, it's all about goals! And with unrivaled news from the Premier League to League Two, it has to be goals! Stay up to date on all the latest football action. Get your free copy of Goals every Saturday, Sunday and Monday, only in the Sun.
Game day exclusive on Talksport with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Making a move or planning a clear out with vans of all shapes and sizes. If you've got a plan, we've got a van.
100% total football each and every weekend.
Oh, and he's found the net!
Game day.
Brilliant strike!
Live football coverage that's beyond compare.
Game day exclusive
on Talksport.
Hello, you're listening to Game Day Exclusive live from the Etihad. I'm Reshmin Chowdhury. I've had Sam Matterface and Stuart Pearce alongside me providing commentary of our 12:30 Premier League kickoff. It is currently here at the Etihad at half-time. Manchester City 2, Crystal Palace 2. That was the scoreline when the two last met, but I get a feeling that that won't be the scoreline come the end of this game because those goals came thick and fast. It was a quick 2-0 lead for Crystal Palace. Away here, of course, they're on a great away run, but Manchester City have fought back into this game, and it is currently honours even at the moment. Let's find out what that does to the odds. We're going to get the latest from Betfair, the official betting partner of Talksport's Premier League coverage.
Game day on Talksport with Betfair. Get a free £10 bet when you bet £10 on football hackers or bet builders this week. Opt-in and previous deposit required. Minimum odds and T's and C's apply. 18 plus gambleaware.org.
Hi, James. Right, tell us how the odds have changed, because I'm sure they shifted quite dramatically throughout that game.
Yeah, well, Reshman, what a first half we just watched, with it being a tale of 220-odd minutes, isn't it, between both sides. City looked down and out after 20 minutes, but De Bruyne and Marmoush's goals got them back in the game here, and they are the favourites again at 4-6 to take all 3 points in the second half. They did drift as big as 7-2 at 2-0 down. As for Palace, they were superb for the first half an hour, and it was very close to being 3-0 at one point, wasn't it? But having gone as short as 4-6 when they were 2-0 up, they're now out to 11-2 to win the game at full time. And as we talked about before the game, the draw has been the common theme in this fixture over the last few meetings, with, as you mentioned, 2-2 in the scoreline last time. For the game today, as a draw as it is at the moment, that can be backed at 2-1. In the player market at half-time, we have to start with Eze, with him breaking the deadlock. He's 5-1 to grab a second in the game and 90-1 to score a hat-trick. Also for the away side, Ismail Assar has been menacing on that right-hand side, getting in a few times, hasn't he? He's 13-2 any time to add a third for Palace. For City, De Bruyne was very close to getting one back with his strike off the post, but then got his goal and can be back to 11-4 to grab a second, at 22-1 to grab a hat-trick. And very similar for Marmoush. He's been the man who got the equaliser. He's been the bright spot for City up top. He's 17-10 to grab a second in the game, at 11-1 to get a hat-trick. Just for the charity bet, Reshrin, but it's all to play for in the second half. We need the game to stay as it is, as a draw at the moment, but we need Mateta to score and Daniel Munoz to have a shot in the second half. And that, if that was to come in, that would land £792.86 for the Bobby Moore Fund. So fingers crossed, big second half.
Yeah, Jean-Philippe Mateta has had just 5 touches in that first half, the joint fewest of any Crystal Palace in the first half of a Premier League match this season. So we need a bit more from him, don't we, for that charity bet to land. James Mackey, thank you very much indeed. That odds update is all thanks to Betfair. Returns accurate as of 10 minutes ago. For verification, see betfair.com. Over 18s only, conditions apply. But please do go to begambleaware.org.
Game day on Talksport with Betfair. Get a free £10 bet when you bet £10 on football hackers or bet builders this week. Opt-in and previous deposit required. Minimum odds and T's and C's apply. 18 plus gambleaware.org.
Now, following us at the Etihad at 2:30, Adrian Durham will be taking you around the grounds with all the goals as they go in the Premier League and EFL. Plenty going on in the Premier League today. And Adrian, you're stationed for us at the City Ground for Nottingham Forest against Everton. And actually, as we've been talking about this race for the top 5, 3 of the sides vying for a place are all in action today. Brighton against Leicester, Nottingham Forest against Everton, and Aston Villa against Southampton in our 3 o'clock kickoffs.
Yeah, that means they're really important. Forest are looking really good for it, aren't they? And I know they lost last time out, but third in the table. There's a bit of traffic between them and 6th spot. There's 5 points at the start of this weekend between them and 6th spot. So given the way they've been performing consistently, I would absolutely back Nottingham Forest to make it into one of the 5 Champions League spots. And why not? Why not? Well, let's have a change. Let's have one of the traditionals back in there. Nottingham Forest back in the 80s doing their thing in Europe. Why not get them back in? I look forward to seeing them in the Champions League next season.
Me too, absolutely. Brighton, okay, a little bit further down. They're in 9th spot at the moment. Probably more realistically, they're looking for a place in the Europa League or maybe even the Conference League. I've spoken to Brighton fans before. They'd take that any day of the week. As for Aston Villa, of course, this game is away at Southampton is sandwiched between those 2 huge games against PSG. I was there in Paris last week, and of course they're playing the second leg 3-1 down, though, although it's at Villa Park. For this one, do you expect Unai Emery to just make a whole load of changes for this game, or can you not take a Southampton side for granted when they've just let go of their manager and they're now obviously relegated but just playing for pride?
Well, you were in Paris on the pitch. I was in Paris up in the tribune. I waved, but you blanked me as usual, so thanks for that, Reshmin. Appreciate that. Did I? Yeah, of course.
I didn't see you.
Yeah, you weren't even looking.
Gosh.
I think that 3rd goal in injury time might just change Unai Emery's thinking. Paris Saint-Germain were really, really good. I mean, very, very good. The potential to win the Champions League, they were that good. So I think it'll be a tall ask for Aston Villa. But do they need a full-strength side to go and beat Southampton? Well, Juric is now gone. They've lost 25 of 31 games. Maybe the no manager bounce rather than the new manager bounce. They've still got work to do to not be the worst ever Premier League team. But I don't know, Simon Ruskin interim charge, Adam Lallana as his assistant. They might have a little bit more about them in terms of connecting with the players, but you can only see one result there, whatever side Villa pick.
Yeah, and Aston Villa looking good for potentially a return to the Champions League next season as well, which is obviously the aim, currently down in 7th. Enjoy your game, Adrian, for, as I say, Nottingham Forest against Everton. Should be an entertaining one, that. Southampton against Aston Villa is our live match for you on Talksport 2 at 3 o'clock. Here at the Etihad, it is currently 2-2 between Manchester City and Crystal Palace. That's how it ended last time out in December. As I said earlier, I don't think it's going to end that way this time, but the teams are out. Second half's about to kick off, so it's time to hand you back to Stuart and Sam.
And you mentioned that statistic about Jean-Philippe Mateta not having too many touches in that first half. 5 touches in the first 45 minutes, the joint fewest of any Crystal Palace player in that first half of the match. And he's been replaced at half-time, Stuart Pearce, by Will Hughes. So a change in formation as well for Crystal Palace at the start of the second 45.
Yeah, I think the gaps in that midfield area that we picked up on earlier were playing on the manager's mind, and he's decided to put an extra midfield player in there to stop City having so much dominance in the central area.
I'll go through the 2-11s for you in just a second, but Kovacic has just swung the ball forward from the central midfield position, looking to release McAtee. It's away by Lerma, and then picked up by Marmoush, who heads it back towards McAtee, but in nips Tyreek Mitchell. That's excellent defending by him. He comes across and manages to squeeze it out to this near touchline. So Ederson is the goalkeeper for Manchester City. The back four, Luis Diaz, Vardiol and O'Reilly. In midfield, Gonzalez, Gundogan and Kovacic. Then McAtee and Marmoush, being supported by Kevin De Bruyne, who is floating around and trying to cause a little bit of trouble for Crystal Palace, who scored 2 first-half goals. Henderson is the goalkeeper, Richards, Lacroix and Lerma. Munoz, Wharton, Kamada, Will Hughes and Mitchell. And then Eze and Sarr, who are leading the line at the start of the second half. And interestingly, Crystal Palace recorded the highest ever XG on record for a first half against City. Here is O'Reilly, back towards the edge of the area. It's teed up to Kovacic! De Bruyne sent it back to the edge of the box, and Kovacic has struck it low and hard, and they've come from 2-0 down, Manchester City, to lead 3-2 inside 1 minute and 15 seconds of the second half. Excellent move, O'Reilly down the left, into the box, looking for the run of De Bruyne. He tapped it back to Kovacic, and he slammed it home.
Clinical play by Manchester City. It was a great ball, slid inside the full-back there. O'Reilly made the run, kept himself onside, and he had the presence of mind, Sam, to get his head up. Instead of driving it across the face of goal, he's pulled it back to De Bruyne. He couldn't get the shot away, but he was cute enough to lay on Kovacic. And this will be really tight. I think he's just onside, O'Reilly. They're just checking that now.
Yeah, there is a VAR check for potential offside in the lead-up to the goal. And, of course, it will be done by the semi-automated offside technology. There was no flag this time over on the far side. The goal has been given, and Manchester City lead by 3-2. So we've had 5 goals in the game. And Manchester City have turned the game on its head, Stuart Pearce. And in the race for the Champions League, that could be significant. I mean, you'll have to say, for a team that have conceded 12 goals on the road before today, Crystal Palace's defending has been pretty shoddy.
Yeah, it has been very, very poor. Too many gaps in and around that midfield area just in front of the back line. Not dealing with danger quickly enough.
Here they are at the other end, though. Their attack has been a little bit different. And again, Mitchell's got into a really good position. He doesn't have the quality of delivery of Munoz on the other side. And that's a couple of times now he's got into a really good position and not been able to come up with the goods. Here's Kamada, playing it back to the edge of the area. No one in yellow is waiting there. It's picked off by Kovacic and then sent forward over on the far side. And the VAR check taking 27 seconds. Pretty swift, I think, in terms of the tightness of the offside. So seems to be the new system is working. Well, we hope that, really, I mean, the main thing about that new system is that those really complicated ones are going to be sort of trimmed down in terms of time. So you won't get the sort of 6, 7, 8 minute ones. You might still have the odd complicated 3 or 4 minute check, but hopefully all of that will be reduced in time. 3-2. And Manchester City producing a comeback performance to go in front against Crystal Palace. And the good news is that there's still, I think, life in this game yet, Stuart.
Well, I think we realised at half-time there was going to be more goals in this game, without a doubt. And I don't know whether it's been a virtuose performance by Manchester City or just poor defending by both teams in some ways. You know, it's been an interesting one, but it's been exciting. There's been a lot of goal-mouth action.
Yeah, there's been a lot of attacking football to get people off their feet. But I think when the managers sit down and analyse the situation, they'll be a little bit disappointed with some of the defending. I mean, the corner that Crystal Palace scored from, I mean, we saw it at half-time. Unbelievable, really, that Manchester City allowed that to happen. Here is Will Hughes picking the ball up on halfway into Sarr. He was trapped by Kovacic, who pinched it and turned it over, and now Marmoush, who's just drifted over to the left, moves into an inside left position, gets towards the edge of the area, pokes it through, McAtee over the bar. Well, that's another good chance for him. He's had a hat-trick of good opportunities in this game, and he hasn't scored any of them.
No, you're right there. As I say, just drifted in at that far post. Acres of space. In all honesty, I think if I was him, I'd have took a touch there before unloading. He's just took it on first time and got under it.
Well, he's got 6 goals this season, and he comes from a great footballing family, and he's had a family of chances in this game, and he hasn't put any of them away, unfortunately, for Manchester City. He have had a lot of opportunities in the game, as well as Crystal Palace. We could have had even more goals than we've had in the match. 50 minutes gone, Manchester City 3, Crystal Palace 2. And remember, over on Talksport 2, we've got live commentary of Leeds against Preston, and Celtic are on the march to the title in Scotland. They only actually need to win 2 games, but it is possible that we could be crowning them tomorrow on the Sunday session when Aberdeen take on Rangers. If Rangers were to lose that game, having beaten Kilmarnock today, they're leading by 4-1 with 30 minutes or so to go, then Celtic could be champions tomorrow.
I think we've got more subs warming up down there than we actually got players on the pitch at the moment, you know?
We've got 5 from Manchester City warming up and 5 from Crystal Palace. There used to be a rule that you're only allowed 3 at a time. You've now got 5 and 5. It's going to be interesting to see who pulls the ripcord first and decides to bring one of them on.
Yeah, I think they've got sort of a substitutes tunnel club type thing going on here at Man City.
They've got everything else. Here is Ederson out towards the near touchline. Now it's collected and picked up by Ilkay Gundogan, who travels forward, shuffles the ball infield, and then it's played out to Ruben Diaz. Diaz into Rico Lewis, who just helps it back towards the central defender. And then it's up towards halfway. And now collected by Nico Gonzalez. McAtee back towards him, then all the way to halfway, where Diaz has it now. He runs through the centre circle, plays it back to Kovacic. And then it's worked out towards this near touchline. Now, charity bet is over because Mateta was replaced at half-time, which is a bit of a shame, but he really didn't get into the game at all in that first half, despite the fact that his presence, I think, unsettled City's defence a couple of times. But it was the other 2 that really did the trick. Foul there by Will Hughes, who is the Premier League's most booked player. He has to be a little bit careful. He's only just back from suspension.
I think that one's a little bit harsh on him, that challenge, to be fair. I thought he slid from behind, took the ball.
Adam Wharton pleading the case to Jared Gillett, but he's not going to get him out of trouble. It is a free kick. Here is Kovacic. Overruns it slightly, but finds Nico O'Reilly. There was then a challenge upon Kovacic. And Kovacic is fouled, and the free kick is going, and a yellow card is coming out again. And it is going to be a yellow card for Maxence Lacroix.
Yeah, you could tell when he was approaching the tackle that he was always going to be a fraction late. referee may have played an advantage there. Pep was indicating he'd have preferred that.
Well, the free kick has been given. And you're listening to Manchester City 2, Manchester City 3, Crystal Palace 2 on Talksport with Sky Sports. And don't forget that you can stream the biggest Premier League games available now with no contract on Now, like Arsenal versus Brentford live today. Search Now Sports. De Bruyne standing over it. And he's a good 10 yards back from the edge of the D, if not a little bit more than that, maybe 12. He clips this one towards the far post. Ruben Diaz goes up, comes back to Kovacic, who unleashes one again. It's blocked by Wharton this time. Spirals into the air. Gvardiol keeps it alive in the right wing position. Looks to try and take it beyond Lerma, but didn't have the turning circle to be able to do that. Ended up running it straight out of play, and it's away for a throw in the left full-back position.
Yeah, more HDV than London Cab on his turning circle there,
yes,
I'd say.
It was a little bit difficult for him, wasn't it? Away by Diaz. Up on the halfway line. A little bit of a tussle between Kamada and Rico Lewis, which goes in Lewis's favour, and they get the game underway quickly, Manchester City. They obviously sense an opportunity to take this game away from Crystal Palace, who haven't really shown much as an attacking force in the second half. In fact, they haven't shown much as an attacking force since Manchester City got their first goal. And it's now 3 goals for Manchester City, 2 for Crystal Palace, and they have turned it around. We do like the northwest. I live around the corner. Stuart. Oh, here's McAtee over the top, but he's missed by the Crystal Palace defence. It's gone round the goalkeeper. McAtee slips it in. He could have missed that chance. James McAtee, who's had a hat-trick of opportunities before today, has beaten the offside trap. Ederson has spotted his run and clipped the ball over the top of the high line that Crystal Palace had employed. McAtee's brought it down brilliantly and danced round the goalkeeper. He shifted it past him and into the net. Ederson gets his 4th Premier League assist of the season. And McAtee gets the goal that has always been coming his way today. It's a 4th for Manchester City against Crystal Palace, and surely now they should take all 3 points.
Yeah, I think he might be offside. I've got to say, it was a wonderful ball by the goalkeeper, and Palace have been doing everything they possibly can to get McAtee a goal, but I think the offside flag might just catch him out. It's going to be very, very tight. It was fortunate the goalie didn't bring him down for a penalty.
Well, McAtee couldn't miss that chance. It was an open goal in front of the 6-yard box. I mean, that Palace defence was right up on the halfway line, wasn't it? It was really high. And you know that Ederson has the ability to play it over the top. The goal's been given, by the way. You know that Ederson's got the ability to play it over the top. And they were popping it around amongst themselves at the back. And then Ederson just went long, gone.
Yeah, some of their defending Palace, the longer the game goes on, the more disastrous it looks. And that was just a giveaway of a goal, it really was.
I was about to say how much we all like the Northwest and how much Crystal Palace like the Northwest, but I'm not sure they're enjoying it today. They certainly have had a really good record in this part of the world. They've lost just 1 of their last 7 Premier League visits to the Northwest. Only defeat game against Everton last September, but I think they're going to head to another defeat here. And defensively, it's been a really poor display by a team that usually perform pretty well as far as the defence is concerned. Let's go off to some of our other Premier League games. We'll be taking you around the grounds with Adrian Durham from 2:30. Let's find out what the team news is from the game down at the Amex Stadium. Brighton have not won any of the last 4, but they'll be big favourites today. James Filden.
Certainly will, but they've made 3 changes for this one. Jan-Paul van Hekke out suspended. Diego Gomez and Karel Mitoma both miss out. Mitoma out with a heel problem. Yassin Ayari comes in. Simon Adingra goes wide, and Joao Pedro starting through the middle. We think Baleba will play as a centre-half. Leicester make 3 changes. Wout Faes out with a knock, perhaps a positive for Leicester given how he's been playing. Victor Christensen out of the squad as well. Patson Daka dropped. Caleb Akoli comes in. Steffi Mavadidi out wide, and Casey McAteer makes his first start since mid-December. Brighton-Leicester is a 3 o'clock start.
Back here at the Etihad Stadium, it's 4-2 to Manchester City. having been 2-1 down in the game. Up it comes to Gundogan. Tries to turn around the corner and play it back towards Kovacic, who has got on the score sheet. And Kovacic actually is enjoying his most prolific season for 10 years. And he's just played a lovely, delightful ball, which is side through the defence. He's found Marmoush in the centre from De Bruyne's cross. It's saved by Henderson, comes back to Gundogan. The volley is saved, and then it's all the way over the top from O'Reilly, who was following up with a header which goes over the crossbar. Well, Manchester City had the chance to kill off the game there. De Bruyne in behind, down the right-hand side, across into the box. Marmoush's effort was stopped. It then came back towards Gundogan, who tried to pitch-kick a volley into the goal. It was blocked by the defender, came back to O'Reilly, and he then sent it over the top.
Well, the XG in this game is going to be through the roof, the way things are going on. Fantastic movement there. Great ball by De Bruyne. Really was absolutely top quality. And another opportunity. On that occasion, Palace managed to defend it well.
Pep fell to the ground with his head in his hands after that. Couldn't quite believe the fact that they hadn't scored. I mentioned in the first half that the XG for Crystal Palace was the highest on record. They managed an XG of 1.95 in that first half alone. In the second half, it's still 1.95, which tells you the direction of traffic at the moment. Manchester City's now up to 2.78 as Gundogan travels forward and clips it out to the far side. It's a bit behind Rico Lewis, but he does well to keep it in anyway. Infield it goes, tap back to Kevin De Bruyne, then out towards the far side. Now it's back with De Bruyne once more, who floats the ball through the middle of the pitch, and he gives it away to Sarr. And Wharton tidies up for Crystal Palace, and they now look to get down that left-hand side with Kamada. Kamada just checks his run. Mitchell plays it back to the Japanese, and he goes all the way back to his central defenders, Lerma and then Lacroix. So we'll go off to our Talksport 2 commentary, where Ian Danter is waiting to give us team news.
Relegated Southampton made 2 changes this afternoon. Aribo and Dibbling dropped to the bench. Stevens and Onuachu come in, so definitely 5 at the back for the Saints. Villa make 4 changes in between the 2 games against Paris Saint-Germain. Torres, Digne, Kamara and McGinn all out this afternoon. The returning players Mings, Maatsen, Onana and Asensio. Live on Talksport 2 at 3 o'clock, Southampton against Aston Villa.
Simon Rusk and Adam Lallana in charge of Southampton, that game on Talksport 2. And if you want to listen to it, you can download the app and you can flick between the 2 stations. Then there is also team news to come from the game at the City Ground this afternoon. And Nottingham Forest unbeaten in 11 at home. Jeff Peters.
Yeah, both sides make 3 changes. Chris Wood returns from injury for Forest. Moreno and Jota Silva come in. Morato, Yates and Ilanga are benched. As for Everton, Mikalenko back from injury for Patterson in defence. Garner for Irabunum and Breuer for Beto. Their other alterations at the City Ground.
There has been a bit of sickness in the Crystal Palace camp, and I think maybe that's worth mentioning when you think about the off-colour display their defence has put into the game so far. They are going to make 2 defensive changes now, and Maxence Lacroix is coming off, and so is Tyreek Mitchell, and Ben Chilwell coming on loan from Chelsea. He's going to go out and play as the left wing back, and Nathaniel Klein, I think, will go into the back line, play as the right-sided centre half after replacing Lacroix. 4-2 the score in Manchester City's favour here in the sunshine at the Etihad Stadium. And McAtee sends the ball into the path of De Bruyne, who's fouled. Going to be another free kick to Manchester City.
Yeah, good opportunity for City to whip another ball into the box. At the moment, the pattern of the game is all Manchester City. They've got a 2-goal buffer. They've got the ascendancy on possession and territory. And let's see whether the throw of the dice from Crystal Palace is going to have a desired effect in getting them back in the game.
Well, De Bruyne standing over the free kick. It's an inch in from the right touchline, level with the edge of the penalty area. He'll swing this in, and he won't. He'll hit it straight at Eze, who ends up being fouled over on the far side, and the free kick then goes Crystal Palace's way. De Bruyne suggests that there was hardly a touch on Eze, but the referee has given the free kick for Crystal Palace in the left full-back position. Bad news with Bradford. They've been paid back to 3-3. They've got 10 men in League 2, taking on Swindon Town. And Doncaster behind at home to Wimbledon. Wimbledon haven't beaten any of the top 14 away from home in League Two this season. They're 10th in the league before today. They, at some stage, had a chance of automatic promotion under Johnny Jackson, but that has just fallen off slightly. They are very much hoping to try and amass as many points as possible to get them sneak them back into the playoffs, but a victory away at Doncaster will certainly help. They lead by a goal to nil despite only having 10 players on the pitch. No goals in League One. Sheffield United lead in their game in the Championship against Plymouth, and Leeds are still 2-1 up against Preston. Celtic bossing their game in the Scottish Premiership, and it's all square in the Women's FA Cup semi-final, which we'll keep you updated with. Ezra's got a problem on the far side. They don't want to lose him with a cup semi-final on the horizon.
This is a really strange one for Ezra, really. He went down. De Bruyne was the one who made the challenge, and to be honest with you, De Bruyne was astounded that he stayed down as long as he has, really. But I just wonder whether he's been caught in an area of his foot, his leg, his ankle that has really caused him a problem.
Well, it's asked for the physio to come over and give him some attention, which is exactly what the physio is doing. And it means that there is a pause in the play here. Palace are often painted as Manchester City's bogey team. They have actually only won 2 of the last 21 meetings in all competitions between the two. I think it's the fact that they've avoided defeat in 4 of the last 8 clashes that has sort of given them that tag. Palace won here in October 2021, and City of the last few years, if you get any sort of result against them, it makes headlines, I suppose. And even today, obviously, they caused them trouble in that first 45 minutes, but since the goal that Kevin De Bruyne scored from the free kick, a goal which, by the way, I think was entirely preventable, that the momentum of the game was completely swung in City's direction.
Yeah, you're absolutely spot on, and to be fair, it looked a game that was there for Crystal Palace to win at one stage, but they haven't been able to defend well enough to get anywhere near a victory at the moment.
Well, McAtee scoring on his first Premier League start for Manchester City. He's the 22nd different player to do that. FA Cup finalist Alan Ball is his great uncle. If he's half as good as Alan Ball, he'll have a great career. Here is Richards, of course, World Cup finalist as well, Alan Ball. World Cup winner, Alan Ball. God rest his soul. Here is O'Reilly, all the way back towards the edge of the 18-yard box, where it's met by Ederson. Ederson out towards the far side. And it's collected now by Rico Lewis, who played 66 minutes on Talksport. Manchester City in charge, having been certainly anything but in charge after 21 minutes. Diaz, Costa Gonzalez, and then out towards Guardiola. Missed by Gundogan, but retrieved by Marmouche. A little bit of skill to take him away from Will Hughes, but that's fallen kindly for Kovacic, so the referee plays the advantage. And it goes into the arms of the goalkeeper Henderson. The referee did play the advantage, but I'd be interested to see if he takes any action against Will Hughes. Wharton forward towards Sarr, taps it towards his right. Again, it's just a little bit short from Crystal Palace now. They're not quite as crisp as they were in those quick build-ups in the first half. Good touch by Lerma, foul by McAtee. That's going to be a yellow card for him. A yellow card I think that's a yellow card is that for Will Hughes as well? Don't know, not entirely sure. It was pushed in both their directions. I think we'll say it's McAtee for now, until we get confirmation otherwise.
Yeah, definitely McAtee, very late in the challenge.
It's on Jefferson Lerma, who was trying to protect the ball and take it wide out towards the far side. The referee's eventually put his cards back in his pocket, and we're going to have a free kick in the midpoint of the Crystal Palace half. But we've got another delay here because of an injury which has emerged for Ederson. He's gone down in the D. He is awaiting treatment, and that means another significant delay here. I mean, he doesn't hardly touch the ball.
No, I think he's pushing his right groin there. So obviously the distance that he can ping a ball.
as we have already seen,
indeed,
today, with that wonderful ball over the top, which released James McAtee. No goalkeeper in Premier League history had provided 3 assists in one season. He's now provided 4, which is pretty impressive.
To be fair, it makes him such an effective goalkeeper, you know. There's been occasion where we put teams up against him and you look to press the play out from the back and you've got a goalie who can cane the ball 90 yards.
It has instigated a trend, I think, because actually the fact that he has racked up 4, I think a couple of other goalkeepers have contributed as well this season, so we've had 8 now by all the goalkeepers put together in the Premier League, and as a result of that we've got the joint most in a single season in the competition, along with the years 92-93 and 2007-2008.
Interesting.
You looked anything but, actually.
Just a little bit confused by all your stats there. As you say, at this stage of the season, I don't think there's any need to sort of persevere with Edison, is there really, you know?
I don't think they're going to be able to. He's going to come off and be replaced by Ortega.
No, and if the pattern of the game stays the same way, I don't think Ortega will have a great deal to do.
So another change for Manchester City, and Stefan Ortega, who made his 50th appearance against Brighton 4 weeks ago, makes his 17th of the season. It's been a bit like that for Manchester City. They have had to deal with a lot of injury situations, especially in those positions in goal and in the back line, which have disrupted them and led to them conceding so many goals. Edison just sort of hobbling around on this near side. I wonder if he injured himself when he sent that ball forward.
It's a possibility. As I say, the power that he actually puts in, the timing that he uses is fantastic, but he struck that ball a hell of a distance.
Well, he's off and Stefan Ortega is on, and it's still Manchester City 4, Crystal Palace 2, with 20 minutes to go on Talksport with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Wherever you're on holiday, at home or away this summer, Enterprise has locations all over Europe and a vehicle that's just right for you.
Yeah, he's just explaining. I'm looking at Edison there. He's explaining to a teammate exactly where the pain is. It's sort of just under the belly button, just above the pubis bone. Is it an actual bone called the pubis bone? If there isn't, it should be around there anyway.
I think we've got our geography on it, yeah. Ball won by Chilwell, far side, just short of the halfway line. Into Eze, who sends it long out towards the right-hand side. Hughes backs him up, headed forward towards Sarr, cleared away by Rico Lewis, and then picked up by Gvardiol. You ever thought about being an anatomy teacher? No? Not really for you? Not your forte?
No, not overly.
The pubis or pubic bone is the anterior and inferior portion of the hip bone.
Oh, no, we want something more central.
Okay. Sort of a lower abdomen injury,
indeed.
Possibly.
Yeah, we're getting closer.
Here is Kovacic, out towards the near side. Back to Gundogan, and then a second applause of the day for Alan Chappell, one of the 2 members of that Manchester City supporting family who sadly passed away within days of his son earlier in the season. The Manchester City fans with a banner up over in the far corner as well.
Sorry, Sam, just looking at this extensive warm-up from the 5 Manchester City subs down there.
You mean standing and admiring the action? Yeah, it's turned into a little bit of a stroll for Manchester City, and they are just sort of keeping possession and not really doing much to further their lead now. The interruptions because of the injuries have just sort of, to Eze and then to Edison, have just sort of punctuated the rhythm of the game. A game which they should have won now, bearing in mind they have a 2-goal lead. And just looking down at that bench, it is quite a superstar bench, really. £100 million Jack Grealish, Bernardo Silva, Jeremy Doku, Savinho, Matheus Nunes. Crikey, there's a wealth of talent there, and I think at least 3 of those are definitely going to be part of the rebuild and the rejig which is coming. And there's a lot of discussion about Hugo Viana and his influence since coming in, chatting with Pep Guardiola and formulating plans to recruit again in the summer. They're going to be pretty aggressive, I think, as they turn over the squad. They look to try and rebuild. Klein overstretches, gives the ball away to Marmoush, and then infield it goes to De Bruyne. And any goal for Manchester City now would be a killer goal. Out wide it goes to O'Reilly. 4-2 the score. Back to Gundogan, who tries to play it down the left touchline. It's out of play and it's away for a throw-in. Munoz to take it. Richards from the heart of defence finds Eze, who scoops it over the top, and now Chilwell got a chance to run, and he's got the opportunity to cross here into the box, does that. Sarr trying to get on the end of it, away by Gvardiol. Offside flag was up anyway.
Yeah, probably the first opportunity Palace have had to get some sort of effect on City's goal. And it must have been Chilwell from the offset being offside, I would have thought. So I'm not seeing it from Sarr. Yeah, I think that's where he's indicated, the linesman. Yep. Good decision.
Yep, that's Darren Cann, who retires today. And for the latest odds, you can head over to Betfair, the official betting partner of Talksport's Premier League coverage, where right now you can get Marmoush to score next at 13-2, Eze 13-1, Jefferson Lerma to be carded is 11-2, and that's all thanks to Betfair. Get a free £10 bet when you bet £10 on Football Accas. All bet builders this week. Opt-in and previous deposit required. Minimum odds and terms and conditions apply. 18 plus. BeGambleAware.org. Palace win the ball high up. Hughes into Eze, just left of the 18-yard box. Is cut out by Kovacic, who's starting to charge clear now, and he feeds it into the path of Gundogan. Gundogan, who runs forward down the left, gives it to Marmoush. Marmoush back towards Gundogan, cut out by Munoz. And then Marmoush with such high pressure that he forces an error from Munoz, and City have it back again. Gonzalez into De Bruyne. Back to Gvardiol, into O'Reilly. O'Reilly is in the midpoint of the Palace half now, trying to come up with a conjurer's trick. Has to go back again into Diaz, and then De Bruyne trying to feed the ball down the right channel. There's a bit of pressure from McAtee on Lerma, which is going to yield a free kick. And it's back with Crystal Palace.
I think we've got to change the guidelines of what is a free kick and what isn't. You know, anybody, I mean, we've just seen a situation there. Lerma's just, you know, he slid in on second base, totally unopposed almost, and anyone that makes contact with the ground, it seems to be a foul nowadays.
Well, it was one of those moments where, again, defenders are pretty cute at doing this now because they know they're going to get the decision more often than not. And that is, if you sort of just take a little bit of contact in your back, you feel any contact in your back, you just go down on the floor, don't you, and then just hope that the referee blows the whistle. More often than not, they do that. And you're right, I think the threshold, which we were told was going to increase this year, it did at the beginning of the season. It just sort of slackened off again. And this game has certainly slackened off in terms of tempo since the 2 goals in the second half that Manchester City scored through Kovacic and then McAtee. And I just wonder, you know, when you look at Crystal Palace, a few of the sort of Palace supporters were suggesting that if they'd actually been a little bit more aggressive with their recruitment, and they might have been challenging for a European place through the league this season. I mean, before today, that was still within reach, really, even if it was going to be difficult. They might still get there via the FA Cup. Here's Gundogan into the box, looking for Marmoush, away by Munoz. Might go out for a corner, but McAtee has kept it in. He turns it back towards the right side, and Ruben Diaz. Interesting to see the ambition of the club going forward. Out on the right-hand side, the ball picked up by McAtee after good football from Lewis, and then Gonzalez. McAtee trying to chip across into the box, headed away by Richards, comes back towards O'Reilly, whose left-footed volley beats Henderson and into the corner, and it's 5-2.
Just trying to point out, look at Wharton, who's a holding midfield player, not alert to danger in any way, shape or form, and that's been a problem for Palace today, you know. The ball's gone either side of him or beyond him, and he just turns and he walks back thinking, well, you know, my involvement in this particular phase of play is finished. Well, I'm afraid it hasn't, because the ball drops in an area where you should be guarding on high alert. But I've got to say, what a finish by O'Reilly.
Oh, it's a terrific finish from Nico O'Reilly. In from left back, wandering into a midfield position. The ball dropped on the edge of the penalty area, and a side foot volley into the corner. Precision from Nico O'Reilly, and it's 5-2.
Brilliant finish, I've got to say. Palace back in line, and all their defence are in line, but that's no good unless your midfield players, your central boys, are sniffing danger and where that ball might come out. And it's just took a little nick
flick
off Nathaniel Klein into the far corner, but don't take anything away from O'Reilly. A guided finish all the same.
5-2 now, and it had been a bit of a submissive performance by Crystal Palace in this second half. They make two changes: Wharton off, Eze off, Devaney off, França off. And one of the questions I think I will ask Oliver Glasner when we see him downstairs is why he thinks that performance has tailed off so much, and whether actually it is something to do with the sickness in the camp that they were talking about yesterday, because it has been such a steep decline, hasn't it, since they went in front?
Yeah, 100% it has. And as I say, they look like a team that, I mean, we were saying sometime during the first half that this game could finish 5-5. The bottom line is one team's fulfilled their side of the bargain, the other one's just dropped off drastically.
Sarr in behind, trying to get into the penalty area. It's away by Gvardiol and goes back towards the right side. Munoz waits and then swings the foot at it and wraps it into the box, looking for the run of Devaney. Didn't quite come off, and it's cleared away. Let's go off to Kingsmeadow, where there's been another goal for Charlotte Richardson.
Chelsea 2, Liverpool 1. The hosts scored in first half injury time. They have scored in second half injury time. Late drama, pressure paying off as Aggie Beever-Jones nods home, putting the Blues one step closer to Wembley. Chelsea 2, Liverpool 1.
And it's time for a substitution for Manchester City. And it's going to be a very popular one, because the man who's about to come on is a man that has been absent for far too long. A man whose only appearance so far this season was against Leicester on April the 2nd. For the second appearance now for Oscar Bob, who comes onto the field to replace Marmoush. Great to see him back. And McAtee coming off as well, and Savinio coming on, so two changes for Manchester City.
Yeah, City feel comfortable within the game now. They bossed this second half, I've got to say, and probably a period in the first half as well, and done enough to get 5 goals out of the game.
Certainly have. Great to see Oscar Bob back as well, by the way, a player who I think everybody at Manchester City is very excited about. Had a good season last year, got injured very early in the campaign, broke his leg, and has struggled a little bit with his fitness as a result. Here is Bob picking it up on the right-hand side, certainly very talented. And Nico Gonzalez out to Savinio. Savinio back into Nico Gonzalez again. Another example of the number of injuries that they've had, actually, Manchester City, and they've had to contend with over the course of the season. Started the game in the Community Shield, but then broke his leg in mid-August. It takes a bit of time to come back from that. Although, didn't you try to play a game with a broken leg once?
Well, listen, it just takes a little while to come back from a broken leg. You're right in the first place. Not one of my brightest moments, Sam, it's fair to say.
Here is Gvardiol trying to clip it over the top, looking for the right of Savinio, and Henderson's come out and grabbed it on the edge of the box, and he will clear it away. This is Talksport, and we've entered the final 7 minutes of the game. Plymouth have equalised against Sheffield United in the Championship, and Sheffield United just stuttering a little bit now. And Wildston have scored as well. It's 1-1 between them and Barnet. Go on, look at that. Stuart Pearce celebrating there.
Totally neutral.
And in League 2, 10-man Bradford are now 4-3 up away at Swindon. What a brilliant game that is. Here it's been pretty decent as well. 5-2 the scoreline. And Manchester City in command, building another attack from the halfway line into Oscar Bob, a little weave forward and tries to nudge it into the path of De Bruyne, cut out by Kamada and sent forward up to Devaney. That's a short pass which Munoz tried to keep alive but couldn't do so. Kovacic has nabbed it, run forward into open space, and now City are on the attack again, 20 yards from the edge of the 18-yard box. Wide on the left, the tall slender figure of Nico O'Reilly, who scores here today, and a left-footed volley past the goalkeeper. He does love a spectacular goal, Nico O'Reilly. He once scored against Manchester United in the youth team from 40 yards. He got a scorpion kick that went viral as well. And he was given a little bit of a helping hand by Nathaniel Klein's little flick, but it was a good finish from a very good player that has emerged from the Manchester City Academy.
Well, he was in the right place at the right time and got his technique right, so you get a tick box that incorporates three of those things. You deserve to get a goal.
Too right. And Manchester City has certainly deserved this victory after regathering after going 2-0 down. But here on the far side, the left, they're coming forward here, Crystal Palace, and it's a ball into the box which goes just narrowly wide. And Thijs Franse and a cross towards the far post which messed everybody up, and City didn't deal with that at all well. Sort of flashed it through the 6-yard box, and Sarr, who was on the goal line, wasn't available to push it home.
I think there must have been a touch from a City player. Maybe Ortega got a hand to it, his left hand just deflected for a corner.
Maybe the goal scoring isn't over yet as Jack Grealish and Jeremy Doku get ready to come on for Manchester City. A left-footed ball by Hughes in towards the near post, poached away by the goalkeeper Ortega, and then volleyed sort of wide by Lerma out back to Hughes, who took the corner. He then tries to jink back in and play it back across the face of goal, blocked by De Bruyne, goes out of play and away for another corner. Off to Kingsmeadow in just a second for full time. We've got another corner here to worry about first. Interesting that Grealish and Doku about to come on, bearing in mind they started the game without any wingers and now they're going to have 4 on the pitch. Here's the corner in towards the near post, flips away off Sarr's head, comes back to Klein, and Klein hits it over the top of the crossbar.
Well, 2 awful finishes there by Palace on the edge of the box. Great opportunity to work the goalkeeper in a crowded area.
Well, off comes Kevin De Bruyne and on comes Jack Grealish. And listen to the reception that he's going to get tonight this afternoon. Turns round, takes the applause from all 4 sides of the ground. Mum has just made sure that the kids are paying attention as the cameras pan to the box in which the family is residing.
Any ideas where his future lies?
I think he'll end up in the MLS, quite possibly at San Diego. But they tell me that Inter Miami have his discovery rights, which might cost a little bit to prize away from them. But he can't join Inter Miami as a designated player, so if he ends up joining them, he's going to have to take a significant pay cut because you can only have 3 designated players, and I think Jordi Alba, Busquets and Messi command those 3 positions at the moment. I mean, it would be some team if they could convince him to do it. I mean, they may well sort of try and sort of fudge it so that they pay him only a little bit in the first year and then double in the second. It's a possibility to do that, but yeah, I think it'll be either Miami or San Diego for him. Plymouth lead Sheffield United by 2-1. And a very, very late goal in that game with 2 minutes remaining is seemingly going to derail the charge from Sheffield United, who at one stage went top of the pile not so long ago, but have had a little stutter in the last couple of weeks. There's still a little ways to go. They face Burnley on Easter Monday, which is going to be a key game. But Tijani has scored with 2 minutes left, and it's 2-1 to Plymouth, the team that's struggling at the bottom of the table, so desperately in need points themselves. And quick glance at the table, Leeds will be back on top, 88 points, but a 9-goal difference. Sheffield United will be 5 points below that at the bottom of the table. It's going to be Plymouth who have given them a chance with a victory there. They're within striking distance of Luton, Cardiff and derby between now and the end of the season. Dramatic end to the Championship season. A dramatic end was there in the FA Cup semi-final. Charlotte Richardson.
Certainly was, Sam. It finishes Chelsea 2, Liverpool 1. Sonia Bonpastor's side through to the FA Cup final, scoring a late winner to break Liverpool hearts. Olivia Smith put the visitors ahead before Erin Cuthbert's leveller, and it looked like extra time loomed, but Aggie Beaver-Jones rose highest to nod home Sandy Baltimore's cross in added time. Chelsea to face either Manchester City or Man United at Wembley, and the quadruple still very much on. Chelsea 2, Liverpool 1.
Yeah, thank you very much. Here come Manchester City. A little flick by Jack Grealish, who sets it back to Gonzalez. It's played out wide towards Jeremy Doku, who's gone out to the far side. There's three waiting in the centre. Bob and Rico Lewis, the furthest forward, goes back into Rico Lewis, whose back heel is repelled by Matthias França. And it goes out towards the far side. And Doku felt as if he was snaffled up over on that far side by Ben Chilwell, who then tries to escape. There's going to be 7 minutes of added time at the end of the 90 here, and we are nearly at the 90-minute mark as the game comes to its conclusion, with Oscar Bob looking for a 6th goal for Manchester City. It's in towards Doku. It bounces up off of the body of the Belgium. I think it took a hand from him as well. That's going to be a free kick. I mean, when you assess the performance today from Manchester City, I mean, how do you look at it? Because they're going to go up to 55 points, 2 behind Nottingham Forest. What's your sort of take on the game?
Well, it's been a really difficult one to assess. I mean, they were woeful for early on in the game. Could have gone 3-0. It stayed 2-0 with a disallowed goal. Then all of a sudden they come back into the game by a poor free kick given away on the edge of the box. And the game's just changed. From that moment on, it's been all City, really. Palace have took their foot off the gas, look a little bit uninterested, really. Whether it is that bug in the camp for Palace, who knows. They've taken their chances, they've been reasonably clinical, and they've also missed some good chances as well. McAtee being the biggest culprit of that. Missed a gilt-edged header, missed a one-on-one as well. So, listen, they'll just be delighted to pick the points up and have a good day at the office, City.
França on the far side trying to make something happen for Crystal Palace late on in the game, but he's being held up by Gonzalez and Lewis. Lewis plays it against him. It goes out of play and away for a throwing over on the far side. Wickham score in the 91st minute against Stevenage, and they're trying to get into the automatic positions. Wrexham being held at the moment. It's very, very tight. There's going to be a point behind them as a result. Here's Doku speeding forward. Nathaniel Klein's going to get there first, and he comes across on the cover on the edge of the 18-yard box and hoiks it out on the far side away for a throw-in to Manchester City. Very tight at the top there in the League One table. Birmingham already promoted. Wrexham trying to get promoted as well, but Wickham just behind that. Kevin De Bruyne getting the Man of the Match award, and a few of the supporters rise and turn and clap in his direction as Swindon get a late equaliser against Bradford in a bonkers game down at the county ground, and that's going to damage Bradford's hopes of automatic promotion. And they'll still be top of the pile, but Port Vale will have the chance to eclipse them later in the day, and so will Walsall, who fallen off the pace. Here on the right hand side, Bob in towards Doku. Doku trying to slam it home. Grealish is there, takes a touch to set it, and the back heel to O'Reilly. Riley keeps it alive on this near side, but there's an opportunity there for Jack Grealish to pull the trigger, and instead of doing so, Stuart, he decided to flick it into the path of O'Reilly, who I think had actually called from behind, the way that Grealish was sort of indicated to him there, called for him to leave it.
Yeah, I think the press, maybe from the Palace defenders as well, stopped the scoring line for Grealish. But another opportunity slipped past.
Well, the European race is going to be keenly fought. Newcastle play tomorrow, Chelsea play tomorrow, Aston Villa a little bit later on Talksport 2 take on Southampton. Here's a cross into the box which Rico Lewis is trying to deal with. He almost caught the ball. Ball was cleared away. It was whipped in from this right hand side by Munoz, and it was almost sort of caught. But it might have been Devaney who put the final cross in, left footed, and he came down on his chest. His both arms went up in the air. The referee said play on. Doku trying to get hold of it, looking to escape past Richard, so it's too easy for him to go. And then Lerma comes across, fouls him. That's going to be a yellow card.
Yeah, he struggled a little bit today in that position, Lerma, I think. He's dived into things he shouldn't have got involved in. He's got a book in there. I'm not sure there was any bit of contact, maybe.
Well, 4 minutes to go before the end of the game. And Crystal Palace suffering and struggling to keep Manchester City at bay. City now going through the motions, knowing that they've got some big fixtures to come over the next couple of weeks. And, a bit like all the rest of the teams, there's not too many teams that are playing week in, week out and in midweek as well. Aston Villa probably got the toughest of the fixture list in that regard, but Everton away next for Manchester City. Aston Villa at home here live on Talksport is going to be a key fixture, I think, in the race for the top 5. Probably the most important in their run-in. Well, and then they've got the semi-final against Forest. Wolves at home, Southampton, Bournemouth and Fulham to follow. As far as Palace are concerned, their season's starting to peter out, really. They'll be firmly fixed their gaze on the Aston Villa semi-final on the 26th of April. Saturday, 26th of April. That'll be live on Talksport. Here is Jack Grealish for Manchester City. On halfway, flicking the ball out towards the far side. We'll have interviews with Pep Guardiola and with Oliver Glasner coming your way in the not too distant future. Here is Jeremy Doku trying to slalom forward on the far side. He runs up towards the edge of the area, then pushes it back into midfield. Not much tempo about the game in the second half. Who's been the standout performers for you in the Manchester City lineup, Stuart?
Obviously, De Bruyne has caught the eye with some of his passing range, no doubt about that. But I've quite enjoyed. I think Gundogan's done steady away. I've quite enjoyed watching him. But for me, probably Kovacic. I thought has had a really good game.
I think that midfield has looked a little bit better, especially as longer as the game has gone on. I think when we first saw it in the first 20 minutes of the game, they were getting a little bit dragged out of position and weren't really dealing with that box that they had in midfield. They've got to terms with that over the course of the game as it's progressed in the second half.
Yeah, and they've dominated the ball as well, City, so they haven't had to deal with those particular problems.
I don't think Crystal Palace were helped by the fact that they were reduced to only 2 in the attack instead of 3, which was a big part of their success in the first half an hour of the game. Here is Munoz with a cross into the box. It's over the head of Lewis and it's kept alive by França. Saab allowing it to bobble over his shoulder. It's put out for a corner. I've seen a couple of replays of that Rico Lewis handball incident. I wouldn't have been surprised if the VAR had said penalty.
Yeah, as I say, it was a really difficult one for him. He's backing off, trying to deal with it, looking for his runner as well.
Birmingham are champions of League One following Wrexham's draw with Wigan and that Wycombe win. And they'll be enjoying that going into the Virtu Trophy tomorrow, which is live on Talksport 2. Here is the corner. Hughes in toward the middle of the 6-yard box, headed away by Gvardiol, forward by França. We're in the 97th minute now. We've played our stoppage time. And there is the full-time whistle. And Manchester City have another victory. There might have been an early Palace raid, but at the home of Manchester City this season, there is no successful heist. Pep Guardiola's team pick up their 3rd win in 4 games. They go back into the top 5 and enhance their claims of reaching the Champions League. And that was after going 2-0 down in the game, but they really flexed their muscle from the moment that Kevin De Bruyne stepped up and sent a free kick in off the post to get them back in the match. The aim is certainly to reach the top table. That plan's still on track, very much thanks to the likes of De Bruyne, Marmoush, Kovacic, McAtee and O'Reilly also on the score sheet today. Crystal Palace lose their first away game in the Premier League since they lost at Forest in October. They really were off colour after a first 25 minutes in which they absolutely blitzed Manchester City and could have been 3-0 up. They weren't. City then countered, reacted, dealt with it and dealt with them. Manchester City 5, Crystal Palace 2.
Sam, thank you very much. At 2-0 down, Pep Guardiola was geeing up the crowd. He was saying, come back, give it to us, support us, let us get back into this game. And that's exactly what Manchester City did from minute 33, with Kevin De Bruyne scoring his goal on his first game at the Etihad as captain since announcing his departure. What we saw today was a Manchester City side who had their hunger back. They knew the task at hand. They knew that a defeat was simply not acceptable. And they've continued in that same vein for the rest of the game as Palace faded into the background and Manchester City go on to win this game, put themselves back right into contention for Champions League football. Still 6 more Premier League games to go, and they've got an FA Cup tie in between as well against Nottingham Forest, but they are back occupying that 4th position for now, at least 2 points above Chelsea, who play Ipswich Town at home tomorrow. But job done for Manchester City. And Kevin De Bruyne now, who we can see on the TV cameras, standing ovation for him as he was taken off. The Crystal Palace supporters just went over, the Crystal Palace players I should say, just went over to thank their supporters. They're heading back. Manchester City players heading back as well, but just soaking up the applause a little bit more, and so they should, because that was a performance where, you just saw them completely turn it around in the blink of an eye, and they went on from there.
Yeah, they certainly did. By the time they got their first goal, Resh, it was one-way traffic, believe it or not. You couldn't believe it. Our game changed as drastically and as quickly as it actually did. Palace looked as though they were going to absolutely wipe City away, and then the first goal was really the killer. And from that moment on, City dominated, and Palace struggled to get a foothold back in the game again. Yeah, they absolutely did. It was Kevin De Bruyne with a goal and assist in this one. Omar Marmoush with 6 goals in 10 in the Premier League. What an acquisition he has been. Ederson with a 4th Premier League assist this season, and James McAtee scoring on his first Premier League start. All in all, a great day at the office for Manchester City. How surprised were you by the downturn of Palace, considering this is a side that were on the up, considering this is a side that do have an FA Cup semi-final coming up as well, considering they are a side who are 10 unbeaten on the road? That is a record across English football. How surprised are you by how little they gave in that second half? 3 shots to Manchester City's 9, 1 on target, shots inside the box just 2. I mean, this was a complete turnaround. It's almost as though they give up on the game. It really was, from the back end of the first half, certainly for the entirety of the second half. I don't know whether this potential bug within the camp played a big part in that performance, in what we saw. Their form was that good going into it. Their form early on was really good in the game. They looked at every bit a team that were going to certainly stay undefeated, if not win the game comfortably. But listen, you've got to be at it for 90 odd minutes in the Premier League. You've got to take your chances. Ezra strolling offside for the 3rd goal would have been, a real big one. He finished it brilliantly, but just couldn't help himself straying offside. So that was probably the turning point of the game.
Yeah, it's amazing how easily they carved Manchester City open, actually, in that those opening exchanges. But it is Manchester City who win this one, 5-2. Manchester City scoring 5+ goals in a single Premier League match on 63 different occasions. 39 of those have come under Pep Guardiola. Who says that Manchester City can't do it? Who doubted them? Well, plenty of people did, and with very good reason as well. But they're right back at it today because they know there is so much at stake, and this is what the big teams do. They come back and they don't take it lying down. They know exactly what it means to turn their form around and get back into the big time. That is what they're looking to do, and secure a place in the Champions League. Right, we're going to pick our man of the match now with Enterprise Rent-A-Car.
Man of the match on Talksport with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Making a big move or planning a clear out with vans of all shapes and sizes. If you've got a plan, we've got a van.
Stuart, who are you going to go for?
It will be an easy shout to go for De Bruyne. I thought he'd done reasonably well today, but he'll get plenty of opportunities for man of the match between now and the end of the season. Kovacic is the one that's almost a man for all seasons. He don't let you down. He does his defensive work. He creates. He got himself a goal today, and Kovacic is my pick.
Interesting, because here there were cheers as Kevin De Bruyne was awarded man of the match by the home faithful.
I'm not easily influenced, Reshmin, as you well know.
I can tell. This is the man who,
knows his own mind.
Knows his own mind, yeah. I mean, as if that was ever in doubt, but there you go. That was our man of the match, Mateo Kovacic, from today's game with Enterprise Rent-A-Car.